What's going on, guys? I'm Erik Turner. We're going to jump into the film room today, do a little freestyle. I don't really have too much planned or outlined in the film, but I did want to take a look at the Bills offense versus the Steelers defense last year, specifically to take a look at how Brian Daboll and the offense of the Bills attacked the Steelers defense. Obviously, a very good defense. They are going to be missing players today, so keep that in mind when we're watching this film. So that'll change some things, but basically what type of personnel Daboll used against the Steelers, because it's a lot different than what he's been using this year. They're a lot more pass happy this year, obviously. So I appreciate everyone joining me. We'll give a couple more minutes to have some other guys join in with us. But some other topics aside from personnel usage, we'll take a look at some of the concepts that Daboll used, because obviously the Steelers play a lot of zone defense, and they're going to be missing their best corner in Joe Hayden. Sometimes you see them with 7 defensive backs on the field. They're going to be missing some of their linebackers in the middle, guys that helped defend Josh Allen last year, especially in spy roles. So that's another thing to pay attention to when watching the film. What's going on, Jeffrey? Good morning, guys. Let's go Buffalo. Yeah, that's partly why I'm doing this. I mean, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and we have a long day ahead of us. Obviously some football games prior to the Sunday night game, but I'm just so amped for this game that I wanted to take a look at some of the concepts from last year. RPOs, that'd be really interesting to see today, especially when we're talking about how much zone the Steelers do play. It's definitely a mode of attack. It's not something that the Bills have done all that often this year. They run it 2, maybe 3 times a game. It's definitely an avenue that they could explore, Jeffrey. I'm glad you mentioned that. Hugo, what's going on, buddy? I appreciate you showing us your dinner last night, or early breakfast. It's hard to tell. I know you're overseas. Appreciate you sharing that with the subscribers in the Slack channel this morning. Glad to have you. Jeffrey, again, you watched a couple of the breakdowns last night. That's good, man. I'm glad that you're able to revisit those things. And that's what's great about these breakdowns. Yeah, it's matchup specific a lot of times, but it is also evergreen, where, a lot of times you can go back and take a look at, these concepts, play breakdowns, because depending on what team the Bills are playing next, you can apply it to them. So if you see a lot of, cover 3 coming up in the opponent, well, you can analyze a lot of film that we've broken down just based on those concepts and how Daboll likes to attack. So let's take a look back again. This is a flashback, Bills offense versus the Steelers defense. And I want to show you guys, first of all, the personnel usage that Brian Daboll used on that day. And we'll take a look at it using Sharp Football Stats here. So hopefully you guys can see this. Well, instead of personnel usage, let's start off with how Daboll attacked the Steelers defense. And the Bills are at the bottom. This is run versus pass rate, Week 15 Steelers game. And you see 41% of the time is the Bills' passing rate last year. So last year, they were 59% run calls against the Steelers last year. Again, it was towards the end of the year, obviously in Pittsburgh. So the Bills leaned on their run game a lot in that game. So now let's go to, if you go to offense and play frequency, we're going to take a look at the personnel grouping frequency. Now, this website, Sharp Football Stats, is great because this is how I usually start off my breakdowns and analyzing and researching for the upcoming matchup is, okay, have they played before? If they did, what type of personnel did they use? How did they attack? What was their plan? Because that's what coaches do. When coaches start researching for their next opponent and the pro scouts are researching, 4 games ahead of the coaches, these are things that they pay attention to. So if we look back to 2019, so kind of mess with these drop-down menus here. Obviously, change the week to Week 15 to see how Brian Daboll used his personnel that game. So 48% of the time, they were in 11 personnel. 11%, they were in 12 personnel. And then 21 personnel was 27% of the time. So you got to think, DeMarco had a large role in this game, and you're going to see him on the first play of the game, in on offense. And it's obviously something that's different this year, right? The Bills don't have DeMarco. They've been using Gilliam in that, technically that fullback role, but they use their tight ends as H-backs, and it's more of a spread offense this year. So that's another thing to keep an eye on with the film. So if you see DeMarco in there, is that going to be Gilliam? Is that going to be Knox? Is that going to be Lee Smith? I mean, Tyler Kroft had a good game against the Steelers last year. Is he going to be dressed tonight? I mean, there are a lot of questions when it comes to personnel usage and who's going to dress today. I think that's obviously something to pay attention to. I appreciate the shout out there, Paul. We love having you on the channel, man. I see all of your comments on YouTube and all of our film breakdowns and shows, man. We appreciate you tuning in all the time and supporting Cover One. Thanks. I appreciate it, man. So again, 21 personnel was heavy last year. I mean, it was used a lot versus the Steelers. So pay attention to that tonight. Now let's take a look at this year. How are teams attacking the Steelers defense? So you got to go to the defensive tab, go to play frequency, personnel grouping frequency. So while you'd like to know, well, how are the Steelers defending certain personnels? And you would think by going to this tab, that's what you're going to get. No, this is telling you how often the teams attack the Steelers defense. So 2020, and if we got to find Pittsburgh's down here. So generally, teams 64% of the time attack the Steelers defense with 11 personnel, 21% of the time, 12 personnel. And then for 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 4% of the time. You see some other personnel groupings mixed in there. Specifically, look at the 13 personnel, this column right here. 7% of the time, that's pretty high for the league. And a lot of teams go to that 13 personnel and appear to run the ball. So the run rate when teams go to 13 personnel against Pittsburgh is 63% of the time. But they're only averaging 2.2 yards per carry. So not an area I do think that they will attack the Steelers with, but something to keep an eye on, again, because the Bills have been tinkering with their tight ends the last few weeks. And especially in this game, and when we get to the film, you're going to see why, Lee Smith had been called up the last couple of weeks, why Lee Smith was active in this game, and Tyler Kroft. The tight ends were used a lot to what? To chip and help out on TJ Watt. And we'll see that again in this game. Now, how did Josh Allen do in this game? It was meh. It really was meh from him. If we look at some of his stats from this game, week 15, 2019, he dropped back 30 times. He had 25 attempts, 13 completions. So that's 52% completion percentage for 139 yards, only a 5.6 yards per attempt average, and 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, that touchdown was Tyler Kroft in the corner of the end zone. A really nice read on the backside of a trip set. He was sacked 1 time, had a few passes dropped, 4 passes dropped, and 3 batted down. So he had a meh day against the Steelers defense last year. And I don't think it's going to be much different this year, even with all of the injuries, guys, to the Steelers defense. I think that's something that they are going to struggle with in this game right now. I'm sorry I didn't have the Pro Football Focus tab up. Let me bring it up for you so you can kind of take a look at some of those stats real quick. So you can see now I kind of ran down some of those stats, and his day was meh. And the way the Steelers defense disguises coverages and really change their presentation of coverages, they'll flip very quickly from a 2 high safety set to a single high, but it's not necessarily Minkah Fitzpatrick dropping down as a robber. They'll drop both of those safeties down post snap, drop a slot corner or a middle of the field player who's a defensive back into the deep middle late and just totally screw with a quarterback's processing from pre to post snap. These are things that Josh has improved on. Don't get me wrong. He has improved on that, but it's something that, primetime stage, lots of pressure on Josh, lots of eyes on Josh. He's going to have to be on point. He was on point last week, but the Niners didn't present the type of pressure and zone pressure attack that the Steelers do. And again, they use a lot of defensive backs, and that's something we saw over the years where Josh struggles with, where are those blitzers coming from? Where are those secondary rushers coming from? Safeties, slot corners. It's all things that the Steelers defense will throw at an opposing quarterback. And last week it was, the Niners went with a passive game plan. They didn't blitz Josh that often. They didn't get much pressure on Josh that often. The offensive line did a good job. I don't think the Steelers are going to sit back and let Josh do that to them. I don't think Butler, the defensive coordinator, is going to just sit back and let Josh read the field and give him clear presentations from pre to pro snap. I don't think that's going to happen this week, guys. I think they are going to pressure him, and the offensive line and, again, the tight ends and running backs are going to have big jobs this week. It's obviously they're going to probably keep a few of those tight ends in, especially when they want to push the ball down the field. Brian Bowers says Pittsburgh has not faced a passing offense like us. They better be ready because we're going to bring it. Justin says, I also don't think the Steelers did anything special, especially with the injuries. Guys, I get it. On paper, I agree. On paper, the Bills have the upper hand. The Bills have an explosive offense, and they can absolutely exploit the Steelers' defense if Josh Allen can recognize the coverages. And some of these coverages that they play are just ridiculous, like things that defenses don't really do that often. If you guys watch a lot of football, you watch what the Ravens did the last couple of years, specifically when they had Weddle and they had those good safeties on the back end, is they just flip the script on these safeties and corners and slot defenders. They do all these crazy things that are very risky, but they confuse a quarterback and either get the quarterback to second guess his read and where to start his reads, or they just get him to hold the ball. And then those interior defenders that put those push guys up the middle can push the pocket, the Haywards and whatnot, the Tuitts, those guys can push the pocket. And then, of course, what TJ Watt on the edge, they moved him around last year, and you're going to see some of it. They moved him around in a joker role, put him over the guards, pulled him over the middle of the field, had him out wide on a couple plays, and then just rushed him late. Obviously, he's going to be the key to getting any of the passes down the field vertically. So with that said, let's get out of the stats realm and get into the film and watch some of the film again. Bills offense versus the Steelers defense last year. And again, the Bills attacked with a lot of, 2 tight ends, a lot of 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. Here's a 21 personnel look, and there's DeMarco, right? So who's that going to be? Is that going to be Gilliam? Is that going to be Knox? Who's going out there wide? And the Bills do that, obviously, to identify the coverage. But what they're going to run here is a tried and true, traditionally, cover 3 beater. And they're going to try to, Allen fits it in here to Knox as he runs the outbreaking route on the first offensive play of the game. And this is just a flood concept, a really good cover 3 beater. You're sending DeMarco deep, which who's going to respect that, right? Here's Singletary into the flats. So it's a flood concept. It's a sail concept. Josh nails this, and the defense does a good job here. You're going to watch these 3 defenders right here. They are working into the boundary here. And what the 2 linebackers right here are doing is they're running as what we call like a box or push call. So they're responsible for these 2 players right here, the tight end and the running back. If the running back releases outside the tackle, which you see he does because he's going out here to the flats, this defender's going to take him, which means that Vince Williams has to play over the top of Knox right here as Knox runs that out route, right? And that's where Josh goes with the ball. But if you look to the top of the screen, Joe Hayden's squatting. Bills ran this play against the Browns a couple weeks prior, and these guys all cleared out. Well, DeMarco's not a threat, so they're trapping an out route right here with Joe Hayden. Of course, Joe Hayden's not playing today, so something to keep an eye on. Josh hits the top of his drop. He's going to Knox, throws it as Knox makes his break there, but look at the location. It's on the back shoulder. If he throws this to the front into the boundary, that's probably intercepted by Hayden. But good throw and good first play of the game. I mean, you're starting off the first play with a first down. That's exactly what you want to do with Josh Allen, right? You want to get him out there and get him on track early. More zone coverage, Eric. I see your comment there, Eric Smeal. More zone coverage. So, again, watch those linebackers. This is something the Bills do with Milano and Edmonds. They will execute a push call. So you see 55 right here. He's going to jump with Singletary. This makes Vince Williams play over the top, and I believe he is even out today. And that's important because this guy, Williams, he was their spy guy on Allen, and he was their spy guy last year leading up to this game on Kyler Murray. I think he dropped as a spy 12 times. But look at this throw. I mean, it's a near hash throw, but look at the location on this throw. It's amazing. Look at that. Back shoulder. Again, here's Hayden. If this is thrown to the front shoulder over here, this is probably intercepted. So good location by Josh on this play. And obviously a tight window throw and first down by the Bills. And hopefully they can get the run game going. I think they're going to have opportunities today, Paul, again, because of the linebackers, of the Steelers that'll be missing. I think the Bills can spread them out and, get some of those draws, some of those screens, some of those slow developing run plays up the middle, those traps. I think that's a way to attack. So here's a play action pass. So you're going to have a pulling guard on the backside here. So you see Spain. You're going to pull him here, and that's just going to get those linebackers at the second level right here to kind of jump into the line of scrimmage And they're going to try to sneak Brown right here on a crossing route. This is a Patriots staple, and the Bills run this pretty much every week. So with this corner off right here, you're getting a slice by Fitzpatrick, and he's going to replace him deep. So pretty easy completion for Josh. Brown gets tripped up, and obviously he's going to be a big loss this game, I think. He helped a lot in this game. He was I think he was the leading receiver for the Bills on this night. Obviously a big play down the field we'll see later, but watch a delivery by Josh. He's got pressure at his feet, got trash at his feet. Look at him throw that in there. Very good location. Able to get it off. And if Brown doesn't get tripped up there, obviously that's probably a bigger play. So nice play action pass off of that, the second play of the game. So now the Bills are set up with a 2nd and 2 situation. And here's the first run with Frank Gore. And we'll take a look at it from the end zone angle. I agree. Beasley, again, should eat over the middle against this team, especially when they go to empty sets. So Bills running power. They're getting a pull by Spain here. And they also get a little bend back block by the fullback DeMarco there. You get down blocks right here at the point of attack by the tight end and the right tackle. Kick out by Spain. But you see Devin Bush waiting in the hole right here, number 55. He's able to disrupt that play and really close down that gap that really opened up over the middle there. So the Bills, they went to 21 personnel. They went to, this is basically a heavy set with their spread run game now. And look how many guys are in the box, though. You know what I mean? That's something that the Bills can't afford consistently do because their offensive line hasn't been all that great in the run game. So 1st and 10 situation, they are able to pick up the first down. So look, too high safety set, but they drop down. And this is something the Bills like to do. 2x2 set, knocks us to the bottom, so it's 11 personnel. And you're going to see them just try to swing the pass, swing the ball out here to Devin Singletary. And why are they doing that? This is an extension of the run game. It's something we always talk about, right, guys? You see 2 high safeties, right? And you can see the leverage of this slot defender. He's playing way inside. So you try to just gain leverage, right? Corners and offense off coverage. So you have leverage out wide and a hat on a hat, basically. And this is Devin Bush. He's the one that's really going to have to make this tackle here, or at least string it wide. And then the safety is going to try to, come down and fill the alley. Unfortunately, the cut block by Cody Ford doesn't work, and Watt is able to get a piece of it. So a play that could easily get you 3, 4, 5 yards or more is shut down early in the game. So, and that's something Watt does. Sometimes he'll read that. This was more of a read, but sometimes they'll even peel him off when he sees a running back get out wide there. And you see the attempt of a cut block by Cody Ford that obviously doesn't work. Watt gets his hand out, and then his athleticism to bounce back up real quick and still use his length to get a piece of that ball. Again, this is really just an extension of the run game. It's just a swing pass behind the line of scrimmage. Who would you rather play guard? I like the Bakker Feliciano lineup. I think that's the way to go. Dawkins, Bakker, Morse, Feliciano, Williams. So Bills try to set up a screen here, and it's just blown up. And what they're trying to do, you see them motion Brown into the formation, and he's going to run a crossing route. They want everyone to be looking this way and jump in that route. But Devin Bush right here just sniffs it out. Obviously a guy that's not going to be in this game. And he's one hell of a player, very athletic. And that play is really just blown up. And you said Dupree in there as well. He's obviously not playing either. So, again, on paper, it looks good. But, guys, scheme plays a lot. Coaching plays a lot here. And you see it looks like Barron even blows this play up right here, number 26. He's not with them anymore, I don't believe, or he's not playing at least. That play just didn't have a chance. So, some pretty good plays to start this game. Obviously, some flood concepts, good cover 3 beaters, which the Steelers play a lot of. You see them run some screens, run some power. Try to do some nice things in that regard. Screens and draws, they're going to be huge this game, and teams like to attack the Steelers defense with that because they pressure so much. So Dable's screen game has to be on point. So 3rd and 5 situation, empty set should be really important today. Empty set allows Josh Allen to see the field better, to see where the pressures are coming better, allows him to identify what blitzers are coming and whatnot, and just the coverages. So looks like he's making some checks at the line. It's a empty set, 3x2, obviously, bunch set to the top of the screen. And this one is a pass that Josh probably would like to have had back. He floats it a little too high. Singletary has to adjust it to the bottom. And Barron's coming from a long way, and he makes a tackle to stop it here. So this is a play. It's a good read. I think Josh had the right idea, and you see he's coming from depth, man. He's coming from a long ways away. You want to see him just throw this with a better trajectory, get it out there quickly so that Devin can make that first guy miss as he typically does. Good work at the line of scrimmage by Josh. And another, quick pass by him. So where he's not having to deal with pressure on 3rd and 3rd medium, 3rd and 5. So next drive here, 1st and 10 situation. Bills show like they're, going to run a little screen out to Beasley, run a power up the middle with Singletary, and he gets a few yards on the play. Pretty good box numbers here, right? I mean, it looks like 6 in the area of the box. But you see Edmonds, number 34, come from depth. It's something that the Bills have dealt with a lot this year, adding that 7th run defender in. He's coming from depth. You get the kick out by Spain on Watt. But watch Devin Bush. I mean, does he make the tackle? No, but watch him scrape down the line of scrimmage. And what's typically supposed to happen is you're getting the down block right here by Knox. He's going to squeeze and then down block right there. And Ford is actually supposed to eventually climb and cut this guy off as he scrapes laterally. He's not able to pick him up because Barron plays into Ford there. And so, I mean, Bush is right down the line of scrimmage there. But Singletary makes a miss and is able to get 2 yards. Excuse me. 2nd and 6 situation. 21 personnel. Fullback weak here. Now you're seeing Josh from under center take his drop here. Hits the top of his drop. Is hitting John Brown. Low and outside. Not bad, in my opinion, on this throw because of the tight coverage from the corner on the bottom of the screen. I mean, there's not much separation there. And Josh is throwing it pretty much right as he hits the top of his drop. I mean, right at the sticks for a 1st down. So putting Josh under center. I don't know what the weather's looking like today. Earlier in the week, it was supposed to be kind of nasty. I know it got better as the week progressed. Windy still probably 10 to 15 mile an hour, I imagine. Rain or snow, I'm not sure. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of each or at least one of them. So will the Bills put Josh under center more, or will they keep him in shotgun, which they generally have done this year? So again, under center, nice smooth drop, eyes down the middle of the field, hits the top of his drop, gets rid of it, knows he has one-on-one coverage, hits Brown. Obviously, Brown was a big piece in this game. So another 1st down. So they're pushing for the sticks on a lot of these passes down the field, something they should do again today against the Steelers. So single high safety look, and the Bills try to catch them off guard here. They're trying to fake that screen. This will definitely probably be in the game plan today, just because I think the Bills are going to run several wide receiver screens, several screens altogether. Fake the screen right there. Bills have shown that a lot this year. Obviously, a lot of times when defenses show cover 0, you're seeing Josh or Dable send in that play to him. They're trying to hit Beasley here, but Allen quickly realizes the corner up top, Hayden, doesn't bite and drive down. He stays back. He's in off coverage. He has time to process that, and he's able to get back deep, and Josh just eats it and tries salvaging as much as he can on the play. Mid-30s and a bit windy, no precip. All right, good to know. Good to know. Thanks for that update, C. Patel. I mean, the interior players for the Steelers are just hogs, man. I know They don't have Hargrave. They don't have 79 anymore, but I mean, they still have this big guy right here, Hayward. He's just a monster. Look at him process this. You're showing kind of a run right there. So he's getting a run read. Now he's getting a pass read, stacks into his gap, but then doesn't just drive all upfield. He doesn't just blow by Josh Allen. What's he do? Has that long arm in place. Processes run now. Now he retraces back up the pocket, makes a tackle on Allen. Good play there. So trips bunch set, you see them tight to the formation. Knox is to the top of the screen in line. We got Roberts, Beasley, and I think that's Brown to the bottom. And this is something the Bills ran last week. So you're going to see Roberts insert as a blocker here. The Bills ran it with McKenzie last week, and I think that was mainly because of how they wanted to set up some of their jet stuff, especially that pass, that they wanted to use that personnel grouping. So not the most effective block, but sometimes it's not even, really the threat of the block or the execution of the block. It's that look coming across the formation. It's that split flow of Roberts coming across the formation. Sometimes that's all it is. And I mean, to be fair, the way it was drawn up on this play early in the game in this script, I mean, he's blocking a guy he's normally going to block in a corner there. So I like this play for many reasons, that split flow, but then Josh showing that ball to those linebackers right here. They want these guys to get downhill. So you see them get downhill, but Bush was just on this game. Just a great play of scraping down the line of scrimmage. He only takes a couple read steps right there, stays over the top of the blocks. Really good job of Hargrave of occupying that combo block right there. And then he just scrapes down the line of scrimmage and makes a tackle. Happy game day, Nick. Good to see you, buddy. You think going up tempo is a way to get their defense on their heels and keep them reeling? Absolutely. Great point, Tommy. I appreciate that, because it's something that if you go look at Football Outsiders, you can see pace routes or pace and time of how teams attack the Steelers defense. They are a top team when it comes to how teams attack the Steelers defense. Teams like to use up tempo is essentially what I'm saying against the Steelers defense. Now you add in the injuries, you add in the pressure, going up tempo, spreading them out, throw all that together. I think you have a good recipe for the Bills offense. And even if it's just spread them out, run that possession game, short passing game with Cole Beasley, take what they give you, and then wait for your opportunity to push the ball down the field. I think that is one area they can absolutely attack. And the Bills defense, to be fair, is also one of those top 10 teams against tempo, teams that like to get up to the line of scrimmage quickly and attack them. So this was a play that goes incomplete to Beasley, but if you watch to the top of the screen, I think Josh had a play here. I don't think he pulled the trigger. I think he kind of zoned in on Beasley. So Beasley's to the top of the screen. He's running a little curl route. But you're going to see Dawson Knox right here. He's running a corner route. And if Josh reads this properly and on script on time, you're going to get a big play to Knox, I think, against Barron here. A similar route that the Bills ran in the red zone to Croft. Almost the same type of coverage, too. We talked about the push call between these two players right here, working versus a tight end and running back. So the Bills came back with a similar look with different personnel on this play. So as the running back releases outside, you're going to get the push call. He's going to the flats, which means that Barron has Knox down the field. And I think Knox has leverage on him, especially if Josh throws to a spot somewhere right here around the boundary. Josh has a good pocket here. I think he needs to make this throw with some anticipation, but he doesn't. He tries extending the play, then looking, and that allows, Barron to not only close the distance, but he'll have a chance to undercut this, I think, if Josh throws it. So now Josh is telling, you see him, Josh is telling Beasley, uncover here, because Hayden did a great job of taking away Beasley on that little spot or curl route underneath. Gets underneath, and then you're going to see Beasley try to work underneath here outside of its structure, and it goes incomplete. And you'll see it better from the end zone angle. I agree, Ron. They're definitely going to have to help Williams. We saw what Bosa did to the Bills' offensive line. I think Watt can do that and more. So here's Josh working through his reads. Good job of working through his progressions, looking out wide, looking to Beasley. I think he needs to be looking over the top here. I think working low to high is fine, which is what he's doing. But you have a pretty good matchup with Knox. He doesn't take it. Now he's just trying to live outside of structure here. But, he's still playing from the pocket. And you see Mr. Williams right here, Vince Williams, again, spy. He was a spy here and forced Josh to stay in that pocket and make a play from the pocket. And this probably should have been caught, to be honest. And usually Beasley does. Josh put it there nice and low. He can dive and go catch it, but he obviously drops it. So that was one of the 4 drops, I believe, in the game. Scott says, definitely thinking the Bills would try to establish the run early in this game. Absolutely. I agree, man. I think that's definitely an area they can improve on. And it's something, again, especially as the weather turns, whether it's windy and there's no precip, it doesn't matter. They need to be more effective. Not necessarily the frequency. We don't need a lot of volume. We need effectiveness when they do run. And we haven't seen that all that often. I think maybe 2 games, I'd say they were effective as a running offense. So I have Lee Smith to the top of the screen circled here because we saw this happen last week when Richard Sherman was on Lee Smith in the Niners game. He completely dropped Lee Smith because he saw Lee Smith kind of do this, right? Kind of show like he's going to block and he's going to help out on, I think that's Watt out there. And then they do that to get Cody Ford an ability to get out there and do a better job of, picking up that block on Watt. But when he releases, guys are rushing. We saw Sherman freestyle last week and do this, guys. And while Lee Smith is probably not even really in the progression, and if he is, he's the last guy here. And you see Josh trying to push it down the field. He's not paying any attention to Lee Smith as an outlet here. In fact, he's looking to Frank Gore as a check down here because Josh looked down the field. There's no one open. He wants to check it down to Gore. He's not going to make it all the way across the field to Lee Smith. But teams have done this, obviously, recently, and they did it last year in the Steelers. I think this is something that Dable may draw up. They may draw a play in there where, hey, Josh, don't worry about getting to your last read or last guy in your progression in Lee Smith. We're going to make you go there. We're going to make you, look to the bottom of the screen, some deep shot, but really design it for a leak out to Lee Smith here because it's something that obviously has shown up on film. And, while the pass was completed to Gabriel Davis last week on that dagger concept with a beautiful touch by a pass by Josh Allen, this is something coaches will just kind of put in, on the back burner. Like, okay, all right, I see what you did there. I see what teams are doing there. You're gonna hug rush is what we call that. We call that a hug rush, where it looks like Vince Williams probably has Lee Smith in coverage there, but as he blocks right there, he hug rushes. He inserts as an extra rusher, and that's another reason why the Steelers are one of the most blitz-happy teams in the league. Is because they run a lot of those green dog blitzes. They run a lot of those hug rushes on tight ends, and they insert those extra rushers there. And you see them get the sack there. I think it's TJ Watt off the edge, and right here, that rusher is able to get in there with a nice long arm on Quentin Spain. But this is a play if Dable says, hey, I need you to keep an alert and keep an eye on the backside there. If Lee Smith, jumps out into the flats, there's no one on him, especially with Watt having the edge. Hey, get to your check down quicker, and not necessarily the running back, Frank Gore versus Devin Bush, that type of thing. Again, 2 guys that aren't going to be in this game, but something to keep an eye on. Jeffrey, I appreciate the contribution there, man. Appreciate you tuning in too. Obviously, your wife yelling at you for ignoring the kids. Yeah, my wife is taking care of the kids right now as well. So I hear you. I feel your pain. Little one for me is down for a nap, and my wife's outside playing with my daughter. So I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate the contributions and the support of Cover One. So sack there by the Steelers. And we're on to the next play. So 2nd and 18. So Bills are way behind schedule here. And yes, I agree, Sharon. Josh hates a check down. But with that said, guys, I like that point that you brought up because, yes, Josh hates the check down. But Josh is also going to be confused a lot by a lot of the rotations and spins by the coverage of the Steelers today. He's going to hold on to the ball longer than we would like him to probably against a lot of 4-man rushes because of the coverage rotations on the back end. The key to this game, in my opinion, is Josh, when he does that and he looks to extend the play, whether it's in the pocket or outside the pocket, how does Josh make plays outside of structure here? Does he make those big plays like we saw last week? Down the field to Beasley, to Davis, to Diggs. Is he able to make those plays outside of structure versus the Steelers defense this week? He did it a ton last week, and that's why I think he was, 6 completions, over 20 yards last week, one of his best games in that department. A lot of those plays were outside of structure. Keep an eye on that in this game. That's my number one factor against the Steelers defense, because I do think they're going to confuse Josh. I think whether they blitz him or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to confuse him with some simulated and creeper pressures, and they're going to get him to hold on to the ball. They're going to confuse him, get him to extend plays. How he plays outside of structure, I think, is the key here. So, dagger concept. Speaking of the play last week to Gabriel Davis, same concept here. You see John Brown at the bottom of the screen, running that deep in-breaking route. You have the clearing route by Beasley in the slot. Play action, nice deep drop, decent time. And he's just throwing that in-break to Brown. And talk about a different trajectory. Talk about a different throw from Josh Allen here. He's throwing it from right around the 44, 43-yard line. Inside the 30 there. I mean, that is a rope to John Brown, but John drops it, and he probably saw that backside corner Hayden flashing in his peripheral, kind of alligator arms it here. So under center, deep drop, but look to the left side of the screen. Who you got there? You have 2 tight ends. You have Tyler Kroft, you have Lee Smith locking up Mr. Watt. But when the Bills take shots down the field, look for those 2, that 12 personnel, that 1 running back, 2 tight ends. Again, Gilliam's been kind of their quasi fullback, seeing those guys in the game on the line of scrimmage right here, 2x2 set, expect some type of, deep shot here, especially if they're expecting Watt to be to that 2 tight end side, which I'd expect that, especially if the Bills want to run the ball to the strength of the formation. So alligator arm there by Brown. But again, totally different throw than what we saw to Gabriel Davis on the same exact route last week over the middle. Josh hates checkdowns like Roberts hates fair catching. I know, right, Nick? So 3rd and long situation. Again, you heard me talk about how the Steelers run some crazy rotations. This is a base play for them. So 3rd and 18 or 3rd and long. Watch what they do on the back end. It's not many teams do this. Watch these 3 guys right here. It's not all that crazy in a 3rd and long situation. So obviously they show 2 high safety look prior to the snap, and that's the safeties are the first check at the line of scrimmage for Josh Allen and any quarterback. What's the safety look? You got 2 high safety looks here, but post snap, this guy's dropping to the deep middle, so it ends up becoming a single high look with these 2 safeties dropping down. And really, if you look at it from this perspective, 4 under, 3 deep. Pretty simple, right? So all of that nonsense, all of that rotation, all of that running for that defender just to drop into cover 3. And you see the Bills, they're not sending too many guys out in the routes. 3rd and long, they're going to have a couple guys, tight end right there and running back, obviously trying to help secure the edge for Josh Allen because he's got to push it down the field. And Josh just eats it. Tries getting yardage on the play and nearly fumbles, but he was ruled down here on the play. So we can't see that Josh. Again, he's been pretty good since the first couple weeks of the season of, controlling the ball and ball security. So we can't have that in a big game like we're seeing tonight. But that run by Josh sets up a 4th and 6 situation. Ball on the 36-yard line. Still in the first quarter. Love this play. Really love this play. So Singletary's in the backfield. He's motioning to the bottom of the screen. What does that do? ID is a coverage, right? So this is a linebacker. Man coverage, right? Okay, well, who's in the slot right here? John Brown. Now watch what the Bills do here. You're going to see the Steelers kind of mess with Josh prior to the snap with their 2 safeties right here. But post-snap, you're having that safety drop down underneath. So he's pretty much that rat defender, that robber, helping out with any crossing routes over the middle. And That's exactly what the Bills are doing. This was generally a middle of the field read for Josh. So he's looking either to Beasley or to John Brown on the bottom. So Beasley's running an in-breaking route to the top of the screen. You have a clearing route, nice cover 3 beater by McKenzie. And then just a good route by John Brown, out route here, clearing route by Singletary. Same to the top of the screen, just clearing stuff out down there. So middle of the field read. These are the guys that Josh really wants to attack with, the 3 interior receivers. Now, he got man coverage, so it's really between Brown and Beasley. Get your 2 best players at the time. Obviously, Diggs is now a guy that you're going to see in the slot a lot, probably in a John Brown role here. And Josh is not going to hit Beasley over the middle because you got that rat defender, right? So he's just gonna look to Brown to the bottom of the screen on the out route. Devin Bush's shoulders and back are to John Brown, so there's really no one that can help out that corner. And John Brown he smokes him. I mean, he beats him one-on-one. Really nice route here by Brown. Corner takes outside leverage, squeezes him, and he does that because why? He's got a rat defender in the middle, kind of helping him if there's a crossing route run. But Brown breaks back outside. Josh hits him for the first down. So 4th down conversion, something the Bills had success with last week. I think they were 2 for 3 last week, guys, on 4th down. 4th and 6, fringe field goal range here. Obviously a different kicker, so who knows how McDermott approaches it this game, especially if there is wind. Something to keep an eye on. Obviously, the Bills are a very aggressive team when it comes to 4th down. Again, watch Josh's eyes, looking to Beasley. He's comfortable in the pocket here. They are not rushing many guys. There's only, 1, 2, 3 rushers. Here's your spy and Vince Williams. And Josh just gets to his receiver on the outside, John Brown, for the first down. Yes, Liam, good question. And bring it up for everyone. Is the only difference between a green dog blitz and a hug rush if they were assigned a running back or tight end, or are they interchangeable? I've seen people interchange. I generally call a green dog because it's more recognizable to most fans or people that follow the game as a guy that was assigned to the running back. And if that running back blocks, you're going to see that guy insert as a rusher. And for the hug rush, I've always been taught that's usually on the tight end. So I have seen them interchangeable, but for the purpose of our channel in Cover One, I usually keep them separate so that, football is a language, guys, and understanding the language is the key to understanding the game. And so I try to keep it as black and white as possible when it comes to definitions and terms. Erik, appreciate that, man. Says Josh Allen's going to ball out today. Cover One's best content out there. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in to this breakdown, Bills offense versus Steelers in 2019. A lot of followers jumping in on the channel. Appreciate the comments. I hope to do this a lot more. Something we do with the subscribers from time to time. Greg and I are going to be breaking down Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde sometime this week. Just didn't have the time to do it last night. So here's a run by Devin Singletary. And you can see him on the outside here. Kind of scrape as much as he can here. It's looks like an outside zone run with a fullback. So again, Cody Ford was not that good in this game. So he's supposed to help right here and then try to get over the Devin Bush. And again, Devin Bush is a monster and he was great in this game. Not someone we're going to see tonight. So you see everyone's pretty, assignment sound here for the most part. Again, you're supposed to get to Bush there, and then this is your guy leading up on the safety. DeMarco leading up on the safety. If that were taken care of, the only guy Singletary would have to beat is Vince Williams, the scraping linebacker on the backside. But the Steelers do a great job of just collapsing from the backside here. Everyone's collapsing here and shutting down the cutback lane on the zone run. And again, Singletary tries to just scrape away a couple yards. Hey, Tommy, again, long day ahead of us, man. So I don't mind looking back at some old film. Obviously, it's something I do pretty much on a daily basis. Okay, this play was awesome. I'm sure you guys remember this throw from Josh Allen on the roll to his left. So I'll let it play real quick. Another flood concept, another sail concept versus, something that they expect to see a lot today. Cover 3. So here's that rollout pass, that half roll, and Josh with Dupree in his face and Hayward coming from the field there just makes a ridiculous throw. And watch where he starts his rollout. Look where he is. And he's still fading backwards, but he's able to get his hips around to make this throw, guys. Oh, my goodness. I mean, what a throw to Beasley. So let's rewind this. Take a look from the top. 3-by-1 set, trips to the field. And I want you to watch the routes to the bottom of the screen. So number 1 receiver, just clearing it out, right? That's why the Bills are going to miss John Brown today. Yes, they can use McKenzie to clear it out, but how often is Josh going to trust McKenzie down the field on vertical routes as an alert? You know, he's not a guy that he's going to trust all that often. He doesn't really have the contested catch ability where, you know, John Brown's done a decent job of that. So that clearing route by John Brown is going to be missed, I think, today. But then the guys to watch here, Roberts and Beasley. So these two defenders by the Steelers appear to be pattern matching. They're kind of reading the routes by Beasley, the quasi number 2 receiver in this formation, because this defender appears to be locked down. So now they're pattern matching versus Beasley here. Beasley's going to run a little pace. He's going to slow play this route and just run an out route. Roberts is going to kind of do the same thing, break inside, but then just run an out route as well, just a little deeper. Again, that flood or sail concept that we saw in the very first play of the game. So these two defenders are pattern matching, and it's a tough route to pattern match, combination to pattern match. And you see them kind of both say, "Oh man, I may have slipped. Roberts is the deeper route here. We both got to go get him." And you see them kind of fall off Beasley, and Beasley's wide open. Josh is on a half roll, gets his hip around, and then delivers a really nice throw. So it's only a few yard gain there, but that is a pretty play. I mean, that's something the Bills could dial up again. And they did it in this game to the field because they knew Dupree was going to be there. You see him number 48 right there. You see him trace down the line of scrimmage as the Bills kind of run. This is kind of like a play action fake, but it's a play action power sweep, right? Obviously, the Bills love to do this in these nub tight end sets with Croft on the line of scrimmage, 3 receivers to the field, 1 over here, and then obviously the running back. They like to get that extra blocker with some power sweeps here, but they show it as more of a zone blocking concept so they can get the proper play action pass blocking here. So Josh sells that run, then again, half rolls back that way. And this is amazing because he's turning his back to one hell of a pass rusher here, but he's expecting and trusting that this guy's going to run down the line of scrimmage for a few steps, then rush upfield as Josh rolls out. And Josh gets just enough leverage to make this throw on the run to Cole Beasley. Appreciate it, Dobbs. Yeah, like you said, smash that like button, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We have a lot of followers right now tuning in, so I appreciate that. So this is something that Josh Allen has struggled with last year. So this was a 3rd and short, 3rd and 1 situation still in the first quarter. 2-by-2 set, 2 receivers at the top, 2 to the bottom. And looks to be, some type of zone read here, but it was just ugly. It's something he did a lot last year. Anytime they gave him a zone read where he had to read someone, sometimes he didn't know exactly who he should be reading. And this is another thing. This bugs me. Watch Josh give the thumbs up, something I talk about on Twitter. Every time he does a thumbs up, it ends up being a run. Now, this is more of an option zone read type look, but he holds it so long. It's almost like Singletary can't get this play going. And I don't know if this is a true zone read because they can also make it look like it's a zone read. But generally, you're reading the last man on the line of scrimmage. Now, if that's the case here, it's probably this guy right here, right? So then why is Croft even bothering with him? Maybe it looks like he kind of gets caught up in that, and I think it might be Chicolo, 56. He kind of does squeeze down and play into Croft, but he's the read guy typically. Croft should be doing whatever he can to work inside right here on Edmonds, and Josh shouldn't be holding that mesh that long, and I think that play by the edge defender there, 56, really screwed the zone read here. But either way, the Bills appear to pick up the first down. 1st and 10 now. We're in the second quarter. 3-by-1 situation, 11 personnel. Croft in the slot, right on the hash. Oh, I love this play. Again, draws, screens and draws, guys. It's going to be huge today. So let's look at it from the end zone angle, because this is a play I remember with Mitch Morse getting out in space. So here's a draw play, and you want to get 3-by-1 because, especially this year, 3-by-1, the Bills have a ton of weapons they can send out to the field, right? So the Steelers are going to have to overload some of that coverage. You see Devin Bush right here. He's out there, so he's kind of out of the box. So the Bills have an advantageous look in the box here. Safeties are playing at depth here, so good look for the Bills offense here. Now we have the draw. Now watch Mitch freaking Morse on this play. Uncovered. So he's going to try to get out in space and beat the Steelers defender to the spot. And boy, does he ever. Look at him take that angle and just seal off that run. Dawkins is getting out in space here. Just a great job by Mitch Morse on this play. Obviously, one of my favorite players. Look how quickly he gets out there. Takes that angle. And you see Barron, the linebacker here. Watch how he treats that play. I mean, it just helps Morse get that outside leverage and get that angle on him. But he does a good job of playing over the top of Morse here. But Morse sticks with it. Watch him. He just takes him where he wants to go, right? You got a hat on a hat out here. I think that's John Brown on the corner. Dawkins climbing, hat on a hat here. Dupree's kind of out of the play here. But watch, as Barron recovers and retraces over the top, Morse just takes him where he wants to go. Watch him lock out right there. You see him use his torque, use that long arm, that inside hand, just torque him by. Let Singletary make that cut, and man. So he beats the block by Morse there. But then Brown gets caught up in a wash there because of that block, and his defender comes free. I don't know how Singletary sees this, but watch what he does. He stacks a move, stacks a cut on a cut right there, and then immediately plants that right foot as this guy tries to pin Singletary in here. Look at this. Whoop. Look at that. Look at that lateral move right there. Stops on a dime, lateral cut, makes him miss, and then gets back upfield and nearly scores on this play. Just a great play by the Bills. Love the design, love the call in the red zone, because this is a play. Bills get in the red zone. There's a lot of QB draws, QB sneaks. This year, they're running some really nice low red zone stuff with their tight ends and play action. But this one, spread them out and let Singletary go to work. Let your offensive linemen, guys like Dawkins, guys like Morse, get into space, get those angles, because they're not going to be able to overpower the Steelers' defensive line. Those guys are good two-gappers, good guys that stack and shed really well, anchors at the point of attack. They're not going to be able to move those guys, even on combination blocks. They're going to have to use, down blocks. They're going to have to use angles on these guys, and getting these type of lanes and advantageous boxes is going to be key for the Bills' offense today. Liam says, Dawkins is great at those throw-by blocks. Yeah, it's something I talked to him about a few weeks ago, because he told me I noticed one play and I didn't post it because he tried doing that club by on one of those draws that Liam is mentioning here, and I saw him kind of whiff on the play, and that guy made a play on the ball, and then the next week he came back and he executed it perfectly, and it was a big play. And I asked him about it. I said, hey, it looks like you nailed it down this week. And he said, yeah, I worked on it all week. He stayed after practice, worked on that club by all week. Again, trying to draw that edge rusher upfield, show pass, and then club him by with that inside arm. And he connected on a couple plays in that game I was referencing. And it's something that he said he'd been working on. Unfortunately, I think it was a Chargers game. He tried it and got called for a hold. So it's something that it give or take, but it's something like that's stuff that you don't really see or hear it talked about is, when guys do have bad games, they are working on these plays and techniques during the week. I mean, we don't see it, and even the media doesn't see it when they're at practice. So this is a touchdown run. And again, we saw them run that half roll that completed a pass to Beasley, right? Well, low red zone. So inside the 5 is what we call low red zone here. 3-by-1 set to the bottom of the screen. 3 receivers. You have a nub tight end set to the top of the screen. And just like that half roll, instead of actually passing it here, they pull Mitch Morse here and get a touchdown. So they run that QB sweep. And this time it's a more of a power element. So you're going to see a down block at the point of attack by Spain. Here comes Morse leading out wide, and it's a bang-bang play. And you have Singletary inserting as a blocker, and it's just really easy for the Bills. They get a hat on a hat, and watch the block by Croft. Another guy, I don't know why he's been sitting, but I think he's a guy that needs to be in the tight end one conversation for the Bills. But obviously the Bills have other plans at this point in the year. But great block by him on Barron. Nice down block, walls him off, and the Bills get a hat on a hat, and Josh Allen scores. Gary, it's something we talked about already today. I do think that the Bills are going to miss John Brown to a good extent, but I think they can overcome it with Stephon Diggs. If you look at Football Outsiders and the targets and how teams attack the Steelers and then where the Steelers struggle when it comes to wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, tight ends, running backs, yada, yada, yada. The Steelers struggle, semi-struggle, or have issues and surrender yardage and plays to two positions of importance. Wide receiver 1, so Stephon Diggs. I think they're ranked, if I remember correctly, 23rd on defense versus the opponent's wide receiver 1. 23rd in DVOA against wide receiver 1 of their opponents. And running backs, I think they're in the teens. I want to say 15 to 17, something along those lines, 15th to, I think 19th, something along those lines in DVOA versus running backs. And that's why I said on Twitter this week that one area the Bills can exploit, and it's one area that the Redskins exploited last week, is getting the ball to the running backs. What the Redskins did was they went to empty a lot and got it to McKissick in the passing game out of empty sets. So that's something that the Bills could do, because when you get empty and you have your running back, a lot of times you're going to have linebackers matched up against them, whether it's in the middle of the field or if they're in man coverage, you're going to have a linebacker matched up on Singletary. I take that all day with Singletary. He's an underrated route runner, and that's one area Dable could attack. So this is a play the Bills love to run. It's something Nate and I always break down, just like a run pass tag, sometimes our RPO type look. Nasty alignment by Brown here, and just a little glance route, little option route based on the coverage of the off corner there. Speed out here to John Brown. Easy pitch and catch for Josh Allen and the Bills offense. So you see them, kind of show a run right there, split flow across the formation, show the run, but then just throw it out wide there. And again, this could be in several forms. True RPO, where you're having all these offensive linemen, block, and Josh actually reading someone. This to me feels more of like a leverage read of this corner out here, and even a box count. If you look at the box, 5 on, so 7 in the box, that means you're probably going to get one-on-one outside with John Brown. And this corner isn't off coverage and he doesn't have any help from a guy dropping out off the edge there, that's an easy leverage win for the Bills, and Josh nails it to John Brown for several yards on that play. Bills love to run this with Stephon Diggs, and they even attempted to run a out and up play to Stephon Diggs that wasn't there. I believe that was last week versus the Niners. So they tried building some stuff off of this because obviously they run this probably once a game, twice a game, something that defenses are queuing in on. And so running different variations of it is definitely something that they could run. Why so much Bills talk? Is this bias? Will Steelers defense be talked about? Hey, you're on the Bills channel, buddy. I'm trying to analyze how the Bills are going to attack. I appreciate you tuning in, man. But again, when I'm talking about it from an offensive perspective of the Bills, obviously, but it's pretty easy to understand that, what I'm talking about, you're seeing what the Steelers did and how they defended these routes. So appreciate you tuning in either way. Yeah, good luck to you too, Zane. I appreciate you tuning in again. So here's another 2x2 look, and Bills or Josh Allen's handing it off. And this one's tough to tell if this is actual RPO, because you see the offensive line. They're it looks like they're pass setting here, but the Bills do have some routes out here. So they're making it look like a pass. So you have a flat, and then I think it's just an in-breaking route. Could be a curl, but the play's already handed off. But looks like like a Hank concept. So curl flat concept to the top of the screen, bottom of the screen. You're having Beasley on that wide receiver screen look. So nice little package right there for the Bills, but Josh just hands it off, and it looks like the Bills move the chains on this play. So tough to tell whether this is a true RPO or a reading of the box here. I think just based on where Josh's eyes are and his helmet is, almost looks like he's reading Devin Bush here. So as Devin Bush vacates the box, Josh, and he's vacating the box because you have that out route that little flat route by Knox, right? So it looks like he is kind of reading here. And then just handing it off. And that puts Singletary one-on-one with Vince Williams. And Williams does a good job of actually bringing Singletary down there. So another 12 personnel look. Lee Smith to the bottom, Tyler Croft, 2x2 set. What do you think they're doing, guys? A little play action, in-breaking route to Johnny Brown. Now it is a little on the back shoulder here, and I think he does. Did he catch that? I thought he dropped that one. So 12 personnel, Lee Smith. Again, something to keep an eye on tonight. Bills want to run play action. They want to push the ball down the field. They want a couple extra blockers. Going to keep their tight ends in, specifically Lee Smith. And you see him off to the right-hand side, number 75. And again, this is what we want, right? You want TJ Watt accounted for. Yes, it's against tight ends, but you put 2 on them. You take your chances here, especially when one of them, Lee Smith, is basically an offensive tackle, right, guys? So just a quick play action pass. Show the ball, set your feet, throw it to the in-breaking route one-on-one. Because Vince Williams and even Dupree, he's rushing. Vince Williams is just flat-footed right here. Not sure where the ball is actually going, playing flat-footed, and is not able to get in the passing lane. 11 and 10 personnel all game like we've been doing all year, Brian Bauer says. Yeah, I agree, man. My only issue with that is if you play a lot of 11, a lot of 10 personnel, what are the Steelers going to do? They play 7 defensive backs on a lot of third down plays. I think that was last week I saw on film. So if you're doing that, you're running 10 personnel, you're getting, a lot of receivers on the field and running pass. Are you playing into what their strength is? I like their defensive backs, even if Joe Hayden's not in the game, because I like the scheme and defensive backs that they have and the way they draw things up on the defensive side of the ball. So my thing is, if you're going to go to 11 and 10 personnel, depending on how Dable wants to attack, I think running the ball is actually the thing to do because you're lightening the guys that are playing on the field, right? You're playing out 7 defensive backs, kind of like what the Bills did to the Patriots. They went to 10 personnel a lot, but they did that because the Patriots like to play that dime personnel where they're throwing a lot of defensive backs on the field. But what did the Bills do that game? They ran the ball. Heavy run the ball situations. So here's a run here by the Bills. So they bring Roberts in, and they're in 21 personnel. And Lee Smith is in the game, and this was a really nice run. And finally, and some good work by the Bills offensive line on this zone run. So we saw the play earlier. You get in the combo block here with Ford and Feliciano. And Ford is able to cover up the linebacker here. But you see all the movement is going this way, right? And you get a nice cutback by Singletary. And that is made possible by a nice cut block on the backside on Cam Hayward, who obviously can blow some plays up, especially against the run here. Nice cut by Singletary, good read, north and south, get that yardage. First and 10 situation, second quarter, 9:15, clock is running, Bills up 7-3. So 2 wide receivers at the top of the screen, 21 personnel, right, guys? Lee Smith at the bottom. So the Bills are going a little heavy now. They said, we're going to put Josh under center and run the ball a little bit. Oh, was this the game where once they got into the red zone, they started handing it to Frank Gore? I think this is that game, right, guys? So this one, similar concept, just out of different formation. You're going to see Ford and Feliciano right here at the point of attack. And Singletary sees Devin Bush right in the hole. I think what Devin Singletary is reading here. So this is outside zone run. So as soon as this guy takes that wide stance, Singletary's eyes are going inside. So he's been eliminated early. With this guy taking outside leverage here, he's the next read in this. That's out. So Singletary's eyes are in the right spot. This is probably his next read. But unfortunately, DeMarco is still carrying out wide. He's got no one to help him. And Singletary does break the tackle and does get a couple yards, but this play was doomed from the start. Michael Lucas says handing it to Gore in the red zone felt like every game. Yeah, that's true, especially in those short yardage situations. So here's a bad pass from Josh Allen. Speaking of Frank Gore, so 21 personnel, Lee Smith, bottom of screen, Frank Gore, screams run, right? But if you look at where the ball spotted on the 50, if you look at where Gore is aligned, he's about 6 yards deep. And generally, the Bills running backs are in 7 yards depth. So if anyone on the defense of the Steelers was paying attention, this reeks of a pass coming. It's a play action pass, or a pass drop, I should say, not a play action pass. I think Gore does kind of sell the play action fake there, but I think Josh bypasses that altogether, expecting pressure here off the edge, and the Steelers bringing pressure, but Josh just misses this one. It's just a simple out route. And from the right hash, now look at his feet. I mean, they're parallel. It's something we talk about. It's something he talked about a lot the last couple of weeks, is becoming more of a rotational passer, tightening up his passing rotation from his hips up. This one is his feet are not in good shape here. What has happened with him is, while his feet are not always going to be pointed to the target, being a rotational passer, incorporating that hop step, incorporating better rotation from the hips and core, and keeping that elbow tight, biting that burger, all these little things that we've analyzed on the Cover One YouTube page, they allow him to overcome bad footwork like this, because he's now more of a rotational passer. His sequencing is off here because his footwork's bad, but now he can overcome it with better rotation of his trunk, his core, and it's led to more accurate passes without his feet. This pass was just sailed over the top of Kolbizu, who's wide open here. So something to keep an eye on, because it's something the Bills did a lot last week, is putting Josh Allen under center. It's something he's used to. I mean, he's done it in college. He did it in college a lot, and he's done it a lot, especially on these play action or passes down the field where they try to push the ball down the field. And they did it last week, and it's something you're going to see tonight too, because, again, they're going to try to get an extra tight end or running back in to help chip on those edge rushers of the Steelers, specifically TJ Watt. But this one, his feet just stink. They're just bad here, and he doesn't have the arm talent from an accuracy, or I should say placement standpoint, to overcome bad footwork here. And you see that stance, and look how wide it is. Again, he's stepping from the right hash. He's stepping and transferring that weight from his right foot to the sideline, but his feet are parallel. His hips are parallel to the line of scrimmage, and he's got a wide base, and you see his finish there is just not good, and the ball sails on him. So 3-by-1 set, nub tight end, knocks to the bottom of the screen. And this just looked like it was supposed to be their dagger concept, but it's batted down. So real quick, not too much on this play. Again, watch these rotations. Watch this guy. Watch this guy. Watch how they rotate. So they're showing too high prior to the snap, but you see there's a big void here. So something's going on here. As a quarterback, you're saying you're trying to understand the spacing of a defense and the coverage. You're like, okay, well, this is wide open. Why is that? Why is this slot, or why is that safety playing so far off? If Dupree, who's more times than not going to rush, who is filling this area of the field right here, right, guys? So those are just little things that quarterbacks have to analyze. Who is covering Beasley here? What's happening? Who's filling that? If it's zone coverage, who's filling that void? Well, that's the safety. He drops down. And again, watch the number 20 rotates into that hook to curl area. I believe this looks like some sort of zone coverage. Almost looks like cover 3, but Hayden's squatting here versus the nub tight end set, especially with the route that Knox runs here. This appears to be some type of cover 3 look, but it's hard to tell. So that would be these 3 guys deep, safety dropping down, that hook to curl area, flats defender out here. This guy, again, these two, watch these two and watch how they rotate, man. It's wild. So he's going to rotate and become that flats defender. in the slot corner. Or I think it's a corner, or maybe a safety or third safety. He rotates over the middle to that hook to curl area. But Bills are running a good cover 3 beater. They're running their dagger concept. You got a clearing route right here by Roberts, and then deep in breaking route by John Brown, and then usually the Bills would tag an option route by Beasley here, and you see him, he settles because that safety is so far off, that hook the curl defender so far off, he's just going to settle in that void, and that's where Josh wants to go with the ball, but it's batted down at the line of scrimmage. Dwayne Farr says, one thing they noticed about Josh early is that he's an excellent student of the game. No doubt about it, man. That's one thing that, set him apart. And it's one thing that a lot of the spreadsheet guys, a lot of those nerds, analytics guys, which, no offense to them, I use analytics every day to help me break down film. But that's something that we, even film guys and guys that do draft stuff on Twitter, we don't have access to the guys. And that's probably a good chunk of the evaluation process. Getting to know the player, and that's something Brandon Bean talked about this week. So good play by Hayward here. Again, his processing, his ability to read. I'm not going to get home, but I'm going to get my hands up, and Josh gets that ball batted down to Cole Beasley, which I think Beasley was wide open. Yeah, I appreciate Dobbs bringing it up, man. Hey, you guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell so that when we do these type of breakdowns, it'll let you know when we go live here. So, again, this is something we do a lot at Cover One. So now we're still in the second quarter, 6:21 on the clock, first 10 situation. Bills again in 21 personnel. We talked about it from the top. For those that missed it, Bills used 21 personnel, I think up over 20% of the time. They try running that little zone run again, and it's only a minimal gain on the play here. Bring Roberts to help on the backside here, and just a good job by the Steelers defense of just minimizing this play, keeping Singletary hemmed in here. Watch prior to this play, because this is a little different. They kept the corner on the backside here. I don't remember seeing him earlier on in the play. And watch Watt. He signals to him right there, and he's doing that because now Joe Hayden is a force player with Watt going into a 6-tech over this tight end. So now Hayden's part of the run fit here. Now, if Roberts were the motion out wide and be a blocker there, obviously the force player would be a little different here. But with the two receivers to the left side of the screen, now Hayden's in on this. And with Watt occupying Knox and DeMarco here, Hayden's the guy that's got to hem this play and box this play, and he does a good job of doing that, forcing Singletary to get north and south where the defense can rally and make the tackle on Motor. Second and 7 situation. 3 receivers to the top. Bills try using a little eye candy, a little orbit reverse. But Devin Bush, again, Devin Bush on this play. He doesn't fall for the eye candy here. So really nice play design. A lot of teams run this split flow across the formation, a sift block by Knox. Then you're having Roberts on that orbit reverse to, kind of get some of the eye candy, get the eyes of the linebackers here. Also help on the backside here and just open up some lanes. And I think that Bush does a great job on this play. And you see Singletary pushing out wide here because this is at heart a zone run, at heart an outside zone run. And, I think Singletary's eyes are still outside here because it looks like the Bills have a nice little lane sealed for him, right? Can get up right up in here. So Bush does a great job of coming downhill, filling that gap, and really squeezing that play and taking away that play. And so while you do see kind of a cutback lane happening right here, I think the reads by Singletary were proper. I think maybe he just slow played it a little too long on this play. I think he needs to just get out wide and take what the defense gives you, even if it is only a couple yards. So he tries making something out of nothing, but Bush shut down this play either way. 3rd and 8 situation. So now the Bills go to an empty set. They appear to be in 11 personnel with, this is something the Redskins did last week. So tight end, running back. That's what the Redskins did last week against the Steelers in their win against the Steelers. They put the offense in empty sets, and Alex Smith, he's a guy that likes to throw it underneath 5-10 yard type passes underneath. And that's what they did. They got McKissick from the slot here, and McKissick as a weak side option route on the backside here in empty sets. And he had 70 receiving yards against the Steelers last week, and a lot of it came from these type of looks here. But looks like there's a penalty on this play. Let's see here. Is that Dupree? Yeah, it looks like he jumped unabated to the quarterback there. So 3rd and 3 situation. Bills send out a 3-by-1 nub set, bunch set to the bottom of the screen. So now Bills just run kind of like a man beater type concept. They generally throw this to Cole Beasley to the bottom of the screen. So Bills have that bunch set, and you can see the triangle kind of showing on the defensive side too. But there are different ways to defend these bunch sets. So what they're going to do is they're going to just run Beasley on a curl. They're going to run a little, almost like a spot concept. So you get a curl here, and then I think that's John Brown running a corner. So curl by Beasley, corner by Brown, and then just sneaking Roberts out here. And if a defense is playing pure man coverage, what it looks like they are doing here, this corner has a long ways to go. And Beasley, with his little route, kind of runs a little interference, and it's just an easy man beater concept. But the throw has to be on point. And look where Josh is throwing it from. He's at the 19, 18-yard line, left hash. Look where the throw is going. Outside the numbers. Look at the location. Money. That has to be a good throw. That has to be a properly placed throw on 3rd down and short in order to convert that. It's a bang-bang play, even though that guy's an off coverage and a man coverage beater. This has to be put in a spot that receiver can catch it and not worry about, adjusting to the ball there. So 1st down, Bills. 1st and 10 situation. The clock is running. Back to 21 personnel. Frank Gore, DeMarco, Lee Smith at the bottom. Get a power run here with Frank Gore. Pull by Spain. Good run. Good run on 1st down. So you got to remember, complimentary football, right, guys? The Bills knew they had Duck Hodges on the other side of the ball, and the Bills had a good job, a good plan against him. So they weren't really aggressive in this game. They wanted to slow the game down and run the ball a lot, as we talked about from the get-go. 59% of the time they were running the ball. Here's one of those runs. Tonight, I want to see a more aggressive game plan. Roethlisberger's now on the offensive side of the ball. He's a guy that's a dink and dunk quarterback now. They want to work underneath stuff, short yardage, work on that yak. I think the Bills, I want them to be aggressive. I want them to get up a couple touchdowns, 2-3 touchdowns, and force the Steelers to have to push the ball down the field. That plays right into the hands of the Bills defense. So here's a run here, power run, down blocks at the point of attack. And I want you to watch Lee Smith here. Does a great job of working through the traffic, helping here, and then working and sealing that backside linebacker, getting a piece of him. Spain pulls, kicks out Watt. Obviously, he's not on our team anymore, but you see them man on a man at the point of attack. Frank Gore gets north and south for a good gain on 1st down. Dwayne, appreciate you tuning in, man. Have a good day at work. Hopefully, you're out in time to watch the game later tonight. Another 2-by-2 set. Ball on the right hash, and the Bills get called for what appears to be a false start on Deion Dawkins there. So we'll fast forward a little bit here. 2nd and 10. Again, nearing the end of the first half here. Another shot called down the field. This was pass was just a little high to Cole Beasley to the top of the screen. So Bills are in what appears to be like 11 personnel. Oh, hold on. What's going on here? Are they missing someone? Let's take a look at it from the end zone angle. So in breaking route from Beasley right here. Looks like a post from Brown. Post and in route there. Play action pass to Frank Gore. And I mean, the throw is a little high, and It is picked off there by the Steelers. Let's take a look from the end zone angle. Again, the location on this play was not that good. So here's Lee Smith. So DeMarco's in the game again. They're trying to, they're in 21 personnel. They're trying to get those Steelers into the box, and they do. They get Edmonds to bite right here. No one helping underneath. And I like the pump fake by Josh. It's something he does a lot of and something we want to see. But the location on this ball is not that good. And this is something that he talked about again this week, guys. Now watch that front leg. I like his base right here. You see him hopping on his feet right there. That's nice. But when he starts his stride, he kind of slightly steps outside his stride there. But watch that front leg and watch specifically this front hip. And you see his shoulders. He's got a little tilt to him, and that's because his front leg locks out. You see him lock out right there and almost gets his, and that's dangerous right there. Thank God he steps back as Deion Dawkins, this guy, is rushing out field there. He locks out here, and this is why that hop has helped him, because it allows that little hop allows his leg to clear and this hip, the right hip, to follow through so he doesn't tilt and slash and make the ball, float or dive on him there. So yes, this is last season, Jonathan Baker. So that little hop, that's exactly what it's preventing here. It's allowing him to be rotational and not letting that ball sail on him like it does here, because this guy is open and this ball is high. And when you throw a guy high and it's tipped and it goes up in the air to the middle of the field, more times than not, it's going to be intercepted. So we're seeing some of those mechanics and lack thereof and struggles that Josh had in prior years kind of show up on film in this breakdown, and stuff that was pretty much the topics of the week this week going into the Sunday night game. So now we're under 2 minutes here. Let's take a look at how many timeouts. I can't see how many timeouts they have. I think 3. 3 by 1 set, 11 personnel. So now they're in the 2-minute drill. They call a draw, and this is something the Bills like to do. And this is on a play caller's sheet is usually called drive starters, or especially under 2 minutes. How do you start a drive, especially in a 2-minute drill, a 4-minute drill, kind of really gives you an idea on how they want to attack. And if the Bills offense or in offenses altogether get a nice drive starter going, they are going to, it's going to determine how they're going to attack the rest of the drive here. So you see the draw. They're obviously playing a little conservative here. They get a few yards on the play. So 2nd and 6 situation. And they're running that McKenzie split flow across the formation. So as of right now, the Bills don't look to be really wanting to push the ball down the field, right, guys? A little split flow and then run on this play under 2 minutes. Showing the ball here, running that little bend back play. And Singletary does a good job, because we saw in the last play, Bush do a great job of scraping, staying over the top and filling right there. Now watch him play here. Oh, he's in the hole right there. So I'm going to cut it back. And he sees a little crease right here. He cuts it back here and gets as many yards as he can. Dobbs says we could have easily lost that game at the end. We really went really conservative. I agree. Something again that's I think tonight's game is going to be kind of in that mold, right? Where the team with the ball last is really going to determine who wins this game. All right, so we're going to jump ahead a little bit here. Let's see what the next play is. Third. Okay, so now we are in the third quarter. So Bills are down 10-7 to the Steelers. 1st and 10 situation, ball on the 25-yard line. 12 personnel. Lee Smith in the game, Singletary in the backfield. Little motion across the formation, and Bills try to run their pin and pull run. And this is a really nice play, and this is something I want to see more of from the Bills. And little Lee Smith, this is what he brings, that nastiness, right? Just blowing that guy off the line of scrimmage and just playing nasty, man. Playing to and through that whistle at times. There's not many guys on the Bills line or Bills offensive roster that brings what he brings. Him and Feliciano are those tone setters. So pin and pull, you get obviously a little jet action, a little eye candy across the formation, and you see these guys motioning and bumping because, as we talk about a lot in our breakdowns, those gaps have to be accounted for. You have a receiver going across the formation that adds a gap to the left side of the screen for the defense. They have to account for him. So now the two guys to pay attention to on a pin and pull are Lee Smith. He's got to execute a nice block here on this defender, usually a pin or down block, and then a nice pin or down block by Feliciano right here, and that allows a couple guys to pull. This time it's Ford and Morse. So you get the down blocks, get a kick out by Ford. Here comes Morse leading up on Edmonds and does a great job. And look at this alley. Nice work right there. Pin and pull run. One of my favorite plays, if not my favorite play by an offense. It's such a pretty play when it's executed at that level. And there's the nastiness of Lee Smith. Look at him. He's not giving up on that play. He just takes that defender for a ride. Bills might go after linebackers tonight with RPO and play action. Kevin Cook. I agree, man. Definitely an area that the Bills can exploit. It's something we talked about at the top of the show. Bills went run heavy in this game, and again, I think they can exploit some of the run defense against the Steelers. Of course, the Steelers are really good up front, especially along the D-line. They're stout. But if the Bills use their personnel properly, something we talked about, 11 and 10 personnel, spreading them out, but then getting that vertical movement at the point of attack, I think that's definitely an area they can exploit. So they went heavy here, 12 personnel, and they have McKenzie tight to the formation. Generally, this means they're running duos. So they're getting down blocks right here at the point of attack. You have a one-on-one block here, down blocks on the backside. And this combination block right here is going to work to that linebacker. And usually these two tight ends are also working to the linebacker there. And this is what they call duo. This is what they call power run without a puller. You see that vertical movement the Bills get, and then Singletary just finds a gap on the backside there to get a few yards on the play. So when the Bills ran in this game, they went to 12 personnel. They went to 21 personnel. They brought guys into the box, which is something they really don't like to do anymore this season. So DeMarco just motioned out to the bottom of the screen. Josh Allen's under center, excuse me. They throw it to DeMarco. They make him honor it because, as we saw on the first play of the game, Joe Hayden didn't honor that at all. And that's Hayden at the bottom of the screen. And he really doesn't honor him. He starts squeezing the number 2 there in what appears to be cover 3. So Josh is he's just really testing him. And should he? I mean, probably not. I mean, you see the 4 defenders underneath and the 3 defenders deep. But I mean, if Dable went into this game with this personnel usage, using DeMarco, using more tight ends. So if you're going to put him out there, make him honor it. And this is an in-breaker route by DeMarco and kind of stops right on the numbers. Not a bad play and good read by him by stopping at the numbers, but the throw is a little low and goes incomplete. So not much to that play other than motioning DeMarco out, identifying it as zone coverage, having Josh work from under center here, guys. Again, it's something they did a lot in this game, worked them under center when that drop, those mechanics actually are pretty important. This play is a little low and it goes incomplete. 2nd and 10 situation now for the Bills. Lee Smith to the top, John Brown tight to the formation. We saw this play already. And this just looked like a miscommunication with Cole Beasley to the bottom of the screen. So we saw them, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd play of the game. They ran this exact play, right? They got a puller here, and they're trying to sneak. They snuck Brown out here. This safety this corner replaced the safety deep. This guy sliced. Fitzpatrick sliced on that route. They still completed it to John Brown. Well, this time they're running the play that's built on top of it. So you see Josh's eyes work the top of the screen like he is throwing to Brown here, which he probably could have thrown it. I don't know if this was an intended deep shot, but you're going to see Beasley run a little wheel route. And I think there was a miscommunication from Josh and Cole Beasley here on that route. And I don't think it was open altogether anyway. So this is a play where if Josh was supposed to read from Brown to Beasley to the bottom of the screen, I think he should have just, taken that route to Brown over the middle. But let's take a look at from the end zone angle and see if something else popped up. And no, I don't think anything popped up. I think Josh got scared of Fitzpatrick recognizing the play and slicing on the route here. And his eyes are already off to the secondary combination to the field here. So I think Josh just kind of moved a little too fast, kind of jumped the gun here. I think he can still make this throw. As soon as he snaps his head around, he's done it before. Right now, throw it right here. Sure, Fitzpatrick is going to drive on that route. But if you get it to him on schedule, on time, this is a bigger play. Coach Chapman says defensively, the Steelers are missing tons of pieces. Watt should have a lot of going against the Bills offense. Yeah, like I said earlier, Bosa blew up the Bills offense. Watt blew up the Bills offense last year in this game with a game plan that obviously took that into account. So if I remember correctly, this play was a dime to the top of the screen. Josh Allen, high-low concept, money throw to John Brown for the first down. So let's start from the top. Let's break it down. This is a really good play. So 3rd and 10 situation, guys. All right. So right now you see, if you're checking the safeties, you see a couple out here, and this guy's kind of fading back. 3rd and long, as we talked about, 3rd and long, they like to roll these safeties down and then have a guy really drop deep right into that cover 3 look. So Josh has that in the back of his mind. It's 3rd and 10, it's 3rd and long. So here it comes. Here's that rotation. So that center field safety, number 20, drives down as the ball is about to be snapped. And so the Steelers drop into a too high look, right? Well, guess what? The Bills' too high coverage beater is to the top of the screen. You get that chip on Dupree to help Josh push the ball down the field. Then he's going into the flats. You're having what the Bills call their D pivot concept. So he's getting in on his stem, then getting vertical. And depending on the leverage of this corner, or if that guy's rolled up, depending on the technique of that guy, generally, John Brown's going to do one of two things. He's going to get up the numbers, and he's either going to run a corner, he's going to flatten it out, or usually in cover 3, he's going to sit right here on the numbers on a curl route. So this is a leverage read, coverage read by John Brown and Josh Allen, and that's exactly what John Brown is doing. He gets up the numbers, and because this corner was off and he's playing in the flats just right near the sticks, got an off safety here. There's a void right here, and him and Josh are on the same page here on this read. And Josh does a great job of throwing this here, because look where he's throwing it from. He's throwing it from what? The 29, 28-yard line. This corner's not in bad position. He's playing just under the sticks. So this throw has to be money. Josh could lead him a little wide. He does have some green out here because the safety's depth. But watch this throw by Josh Allen. He leads him to the 45-yard line, so good spacing between these two guys. But he also puts him in the back shoulder here. And when we look at it from the end zone, that's important because number 22, that corner, if Josh leads him to the sideline, there's a good chance that he could work over the top and make a play on this ball. But because Josh led it to the back shoulder, it's completed. So look at it from this end zone angle. Empty set, again, I think this is something the Bills can attack, and they can attack this on a weekly basis. I mean, you hear me talk about empty sets every week because going in empty sets, allows Josh Allen to also insert as a rush or a runner as well. So good eye discipline. Again, Josh has to read this pre to post snap. You see that rotation by the middle of the field safety. They're dropping out. Now the Steelers, change their coverage. They spin into a single high or a too high look. Josh gets his eyes to the proper side of the field, analyzes that leverage, analyzes that break, and then again, watch the throw. I mean, this is just a rocket. A back shoulder. Boom. So number 22, the corner can't fall back and undercut that play. So first down by the Bills. Good throw by Josh. 1st and 10. Still in the 3rd quarter. So you see Watt to the bottom. He's kind of in the slot there, right? He's off the ball in the slot on Beasley. And the Bills run the ball here on a nice play. And we'll look at it from the end zone angle. And that's, this is that play where Watt forces the fumble here. We'll take a look at it from the end zone angle. Watt's the one that punches the ball out here on Singletary. Remember, Singletary had some fumbling issues last year. Now we saw Zach Moss kind of put one on the ground last week, but let's hope that doesn't become the norm here. So Bill's just running zone run. So you'll see, I'll slow it down for you guys. Everyone taking their zone footwork in the direction of the play. Everyone's stepping that way, getting the proper depth, working along the second level. Now look at this hole right up the middle. Nice cut north and south. That's exactly what you want from them. And this play was really a nice cut on Hargrave right there. Just gets enough of him to slow him down. But Watt was lined up outside, so he's right here playing in the Beasley, but he gets back in the play. And as Singletary cuts it back, because you see the defensive back get in there, as he cuts it back, boom, you get the punch out by Watt, and the Steelers recover. So when you have two good teams tonight matched up, and a game that's likely to be, determined on the last play or last drive of the game, last play of the game, turnovers are huge, and the Bills just cannot afford to do that. Here's another screen. The Bills start up in quads. See how the Steelers match up, but because the Bills are in empty, you bring in this guy across the formation. You got 3 eligibles here. The Steelers are playing what it looks like to be box coverage, so they're kind of zoning it off 4 over 3, and just a great job by the 2 defenders out there. Bud Dupree working through the block of Knox, and then Devin Bush just crushing the play inside out. And that's usually how screens, especially screens the receivers and running backs out wide, shut down. It's usually inside out pursuit that really shut down the play. The Bills need to pull out the typical Belichick move of isolating the Steelers' best player on each side of the ball. Double Watt for sure. Claypool might be the biggest offensive threat. Maybe running back. T. Dobbs has said in the chat room. So, yeah, like I said, man, there's a lot of ways the Bills can attack from the offense and defensive side. It'll be interesting. And it looks early in this second half, the Bills, they went to empty a few times. So, again, something to keep an eye on in this game because you put, and it looks like Josh is something I talk about that the Washington football team did, I should say, last week was work the weak side of the formation out of empty. And that's Singletary to the top of the screen. You're getting the clearing route, seam route by Knox, and then you're just having Singletary just run a short in-breaking route here, weak side of the formation. And that's something the Washington football team did last week, and good coverage here to shut down that formation, that combination, and Josh just decides to scramble on the play. And you can't blame them. Look at how the middle of the field is vacating. That's what I'm saying. This is empty formation is so tough to defend with the weapons the Bills have. But if the defense wants to play coverage, I mean, these guys are vacating. Look at this. I mean, you want Josh taking that all day. That's a called pass, but it's also a really easy run read for Josh and a way to really dictate the plays on offense. So 2nd and 13 situation. Bills are behind the chains. They're behind schedule 21 personnel. It was no surprise they went to a run here to try to get back ahead of the chains, but it's just blown up here. And they did try to run to the weak side here. It looks like a counter run. So they try to break a tendency that the first half they were running to the strength of the formation. They were running to this side of the screen. Here they try running a little counter with a backside guard pulling, but there was some kind of miscommunication. You see Josh pivot counterclockwise here, and as Gore does his footwork, there's some kind of miscommunication here because I think this is probably Josh mishap on Josh's account because you're getting a little counter step here and Gore, and I think probably I imagine Josh was supposed to open up clockwise and hand it, but who knows? Either way, the play is really blowing up at the point of attack there. Good play by, I think that's Hayward that makes the play there. Yep, 97. So 3rd and long, 3rd and 13 here. Bills go to empty, and TJ Watt's the bottom. So when the Bills go to empty, this is, as much as I love empty, it puts stress on your quarterback, it puts stress on your 5 offensive linemen, especially if you don't keep anyone in to help along these edges here. And you see what it does along the edges there. You see Singletary chipping right here on Watt, and it looks like Ford just mugs TJ Watt there. And the ball goes incomplete. So that's the thing. Going empty, especially on 3rd and long, it's not the most ideal formation to be in on 3rd and long because, again, you're putting stress on the offensive line. And yes, you're trying to push the ball down the field, and you get those chip releases from the tight ends and running backs, but it's putting a lot of stress on your offensive line and quarterback, especially when you're trying to put the ball down the field, and the Bills aren't able to push the ball down the field there. It goes incomplete. So not the best drive here by the Bills. You see Josh kind of setting the protection there. It's a nice little game inside between the three interior players there, and they really blew up that protection. So you're going to get the nose diving inside, and then a loop by Vince Williams, a linebacker there. So nice little interior twist game there. And what happens is Spain does a great job of passing this guy with force. Watch him pass this defender driving inside, that driver. And he's the one that pressures him because the nose guard did such a great job. Nose tackle did such a great job of playing into these offensive linemen right here. And there's leakage right here because Feliciano, who is sliding to his right, doesn't close down this interior gap and help Morse here. And so Morse has that nose tackle playing into him really heavy, and he's not able to slide and pick up that gap, that defender rushing, and the ball goes incomplete. Dobbs says, what a difference a year makes. 2019 offense looks slow and clumsy compared to this year. I agree. Titans and Chiefs games looked more like this one. Definitely, man. Definitely. So run here with Frank Gore. Let's check out. I missed the down and distance. 1st and 10, third quarter, 124 on the clock. Bills are down. Then we got 7 points on the board. So 22 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, heavy run formation, and run up the middle by Gore. Okay, so it wasn't the drive before the half. It was. I think that this is the drive where the Bills have advantageous field position. Get some nice runs going here. This is power football, right? Backside guard pulling, fullback bending back into the play here. Smith climbing the second level right there. Hat on a hat. DeMarco inside running with Frank Gore. He gets through on a nice gain out of 22 personnel. So 2nd and 1. 2nd and short here. Another 22 personnel play. Both tight ends to the bottom of the screen. And this one was just a slow developing play and really gets stopped in its tracks. It's not something you want to see with Frank Gore on a power run, a gap run, trying to work out wide here. But it's blown up by, I think this is Hayward right here. So what the Steelers did is they put Hayward at the to the strength of the formation, lined up right over that second tight end. And then here's your joker right here. Here's TJ Watt right here, right in the middle, stacking that A gap. So that forces down blocks right here. Really heavy-handed defensive lineman into Knox. It's not a matchup that you want. And you see that he just squeezes down and plays on the Bills side of the line of scrimmage, kind of blows that play up from the outside in. So now Spain is trying to lead wide with everyone crashing so he can get out into the open here. Gore follows him when really Gore's probably best bet is probably just getting north and south here. He tries cutting wide, and then that's when the Steelers defense can play fast. And here's Bush just shutting that play down out wide as he tries to bounce it. So it's play probably Spain and Gore probably should have just got up inside, but I can understand them trying to get out wide as that play is blown up and crashed down by Hayward. It's not a matchup you want, Hayward on Knox. So 3rd and 2 now. 3-by-1 set, 3 receivers at the bottom. They motion Singletary and yep, Josh runs a little zone read type run, and it looks like he picks it up. So this time the Bills run it to the strength of the formation. They run it to the tight end side here. TJ Watt stacking that A gap and kind of running down blocks here. I imagine if this is an actual read, Josh is probably reading this linebacker, but either way, I think the Bills have that covered really well. Man, look at the closing speed by Fitzpatrick over the top here on this little zone read action. I'm not sure if he's the one that has the quarterback, but boy, does he cover some ground. Watch this. Boom. Plays it inside out too. You see him coming down from depth. At inside shoulder, attacking this way, cutting off this lane. So if Josh wants to cut it back, he's cutting back into traffic. Nice play by Fitzpatrick, but either way, the Bills pick it up. Do you think the Steelers' game plan will be more run heavy in order to limit the amount of time our offense will be on the field? That is one strategy, but the Steelers don't run the ball all that well either, so it'll be an overcommitment in my point of view. The Steelers will have to really stay committed to it, because the Bills are, if that becomes the game plan for the Steelers offense, the Bills are just going to sell out and try to stop the run and force third and long situations. And that's where the Steelers don't want to be. That's not something that you want to have Roethlisberger do. You don't want him holding on to the ball long into the play, because obviously his mobility is not what it used to be. And he's a guy that usually just wants to get the ball out of his hands. So that's not really playing to his strengths. But it is definitely something that the Bills are going to see as we move forward in the season. So 2nd and 10, 22 personnel. Again, Bills are just trying to pound it. They showed some success. And here's that same play that was just shut down. And here's Brian Daboll pulling out his trick play, little halfback pass here, but it's covered pretty well. They try to sneak Knox out to the corner of the end zone. And yes, John Brown's open. It's Frank Gore, and he's under duress. He's not going to throw that. So he eats it. 2nd down play. Little too cute, right? I mean, yes, you were having success with the run game, but you can't live in this situation. TJ Watt jumping around there, he blows up Feliciano, but there's just no way Gore's going to get this pass off to anyone but Knox, and it would have been a perfect play call in order to work properly. It's just not the time, I don't think, to call out that trick play. So now the Bills are in trouble. 3rd and 15 situation. They're down 3 points. We're in the 4th quarter, and they send out a 3-by-1 set to the bottom of the screen and run a draw, and it's just blown up by TJ Watt to the top of the screen. I mean, absolutely blown up. Look how quickly, Watt gets off the ball, and Ford tries executing that club eye that we talked about earlier in the game. So they tried running that same type of draw that had success in the 1st quarter on that first, I think it was the 1st quarter. But this time it doesn't work. Just watch Watt to the left side of the screen. Here's the club, but the athleticism by Watt to keep his legs under him, and he's able to trip up Singletary. And I don't think this play has really much of a shot unless Singletary is bouncing it this way, because I think Barron has good leverage on Morse on this play. So, and just the way that the defender Hargrave, number 79, cuts down, and that's Spencer Long in the game here. The way that this guy squeezes down on this lane, I think Singletary is going to be bouncing it that way versus this way, like he did earlier in the game. So good defense by the Steelers, specifically TJ Watt. So now we're in the 4th quarter, guys. 10-10 now. So they settled for a field goal. 21 personnel on the field. Play action pass. So again, trying to push the ball down the field. And is this the renegade play? I think it is. So looks like we actually get a thumbs up and they pass it. So that's good to see. A good tendency breaker. Shot call down the field. Nice throw. Gives this guy a shot. John Brown swings the field on this play. Flags have been thrown. So this is one of those calls, just, give your guy a shot. And, John Brown barely gets off the ground, but fighting through traffic, draws a flag, was able to complete that play. I mean, that was a big play for the Bills. So now those are in business now, right around the 30-yard line. They stay in 21 personnel. Steelers showing a single high safety look. And that's why you see them come right back to this play action pass. You see Minka rolling from the bottom of the screen, rolling to the middle of the field, shows his back to John Brown. Bills love this matchup, so of course they throw it down the field. Again, corner does a better job of squeezing and staying in the pocket there and squeezing that route and cutting it off at the catch point. So I like this aggressiveness. You're going to play single high looks. You're going to try to stop the run when the Bills go to 21 personnel. Daboll says, you know what, we're gonna take those shots down the field. So this was Daboll, although he did get pretty, when it came to using 21 to 22 personnel and having power runs and inside the 20 and 30-yard line in that 3rd quarter and even early on in the game. I think it served its purpose here in the 4th quarter. So you see how the game plan is intertwined here and how it comes together. And I think this was a really good run out of 21 personnel by Singletary too. Good patience by him getting a first down on this play. So you see, the Steelers are kind of reeling. They had the upper hand late in that 3rd quarter And when it came to running the ball, the Bills running the ball against them. But then you see Dable stick to the game plan, run another power run at the point of attack, and the Bills do a good job of sealing off Bush here. Watch Devin Bush and watch this side of the offensive line, how they work versus TJ Watt stacked against his tight end. Watch how they work there. It's just a really nice play here at the point of attack. Get everyone sealed down. Here comes the puller. Quentin Spain sealing Devin Bush here. And obviously DeMarco can now get up into the line of scrimmage, and it's really Singletary versus Vince Williams. He bursts outside, gets a nice block from, I think that's McKenzie, as he came across the formation here and inserts as a blocker, as we talked about, something the Bills did last week. Inserts as a blocker on Hayden. Singletary gets north and south, and whew, did you guys see that stiff arm? Look at you, stiff arm. Nice stiff arm. You see that offhand, that left hand hit, not the face mask, but it looks like he punches out right on the shoulder pad as Williams lunges out for the tackle. So good run by Devin Singletary. Hunter Smith says, I've heard that they don't move Watt around too often on the line. Why wouldn't they do that with him being such a weapon? I think the Steelers do that in certain situations, but by doing that, you're also kind of taking one of your playmakers out of the play, because most offenses are going to scheme up a specific run at a guy because they know where he's going to be. So by moving him around, yes, you can make some plays, but if you have matchups with Watt against tight ends, I mean, why move him? Let him blow up the play. He's going to win that more times than not. So in run situations, I don't like moving him, and I think that's what the Bills were banking on. They were expecting him to be at the point of attack, and so they brought not only the ball to him, but they brought an extra backside blocker, an extra fullback or tight end coming from the backside of the formation. And this play was a nice cut, but Singletary, I believe, fumbled on this play. So they tried to run that that outside zone run that they ran first or second drive, get a cutback, but Steelers do a good job on the backside of this play of working down the line of scrimmage. You see Watt, now he's moving around. He's right here, and this is why you do that. He can create some disruption. And he forces the cutback here by Singletary, and then here comes the Bud Dupree. He's doing what defensive coordinators right here call BCR. He is responsible for bootlegs, counters, cutbacks, and reverses. So he plays the backside just in case there's a keeper here and some kind of bootleg. But once he doesn't have the ball, once Allen doesn't have the ball, here comes Dupree down and getting back in the play, making that cutback as well, and then boom, ball is punched out by the defensive lineman. Cody Finney asks, Eric, do you think we shade Hyde over top of Wallace to help with this matchup against Juju or Claypool? I mean, if the Steelers want to live in the realm of Juju on the outside, beating Wallace over the top, I'm fine with that, because the Bills aren't going to press a guy like Juju. The Bills aren't going to play a lot of press man against a guy like Juju. They're going to play off coverage against him if he's on the outside. And the Bills, of course, they're going to have a lot of safety help no matter what. That's their defense as a whole, guys. A lot of quarters coverage, a lot of cover two, Tampa 2, a lot of robber coverage with those guys over the top. I don't think that's the Steelers' game plan, where they're going to put Juju out wide and really test Levi Wallace in that regard, because while Wallace got torched last week, a lot of that had to do with cover 3 looks, Wallace and off coverage, and the Niners taking that underneath stuff. When they did catch Wallace in man-to-man coverage, it was Wallace versus Brendan Ayuk, Wallace versus Deebo Samuel, not Juju Smith-Schuster. It's not the same type of player. So I don't think that's a realm that the Steelers will live in. I don't think that'll be a primary game plan. I think Schuster is going to eat underneath from the slot. I don't think he's going to be a guy that they're going to line up on the outside and send him deep. I think if they're going to do that, they're going to get it from the seam routes with Smith-Schuster in the slot. Another batted pass at the line of scrimmage here with the Bills. You see them keep in not just the 2 tight ends, they keep in the running back. So a little max protection. The ball is batted down in a quick game. So, the Bills kept multiple guys in the block. The defensive linemen know, hey, I'm probably not going to get home, even though he does get a little leverage there on Morse, and bats the ball down. So working through the fourth quarter here, 3rd and 9, 8 minutes in the quarter here in the game. And this is the 3x1 set, nub tight end set, touchdown pass to Tyler Croft to the top of the screen. And the timing on this route was money. So let's work from left to right, bottom to top of the screen, and what happens on the defensive side of the ball. So prior to the snap, Josh is looking at the safeties. What does he see? Two high safety looks. He's looking at the corners. I mean, everyone's playing with zone eyes. So two high zone type look by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're running their two high beaters. So Tyler Croft running that corner route. This is a Patriot staple. A lot of times this route by Singletary is more of an option route. So he can really run an out route. He can run a curl. He can run a Texas route over the middle, angle route. He usually has an option route on the backside of this nub tight end set versus two high safety looks. And again, we talked about the push call, the box call between the defenders early in the game here. Those three defenders are usually responsible for this, two-man eligible route to the top of the screen. So we see the running back push out wide past the defensive, past the tight end. So usually this is a push call. Usually this guy is going to take the running back into the flats. Usually this guy is going to carry up wide here. But with a safety over the top, there's some kind of miscommunication here. I think Mark Barron does that. He carries that route like he did earlier in the game versus Dawson Knox. So it's almost as if they executed that push call, right? Now you have that corner watching Singletary, but Singletary comes back over the middle. So now this corner would have to drive on that. Barron's carrying, and he's probably expecting some help here. But again, there's some kind of miscommunication. I can't tell you for sure who dropped this coverage because Barron drops Tyler Croft here. There's no way Edmonds now can get out there. So there's some kind of misread there, miscommunication breakdown. And with a timing throw to the end zone here and the proper location from Josh Allen outside shoulder, that's just a touchdown. So if you look at these three guys right here, they're all looking at each other like, okay, who blew it here? And you see Edmonds kind of disappointed here. My guess is that Barron was supposed to carry that on the push call, on that box call, but he doesn't. And maybe he was trying to jump that route by Singletary. I don't know. Maybe there was a call that we couldn't hear from Hayden that there was a Texas route coming, and the Barron kind of peeled off to help protect that. I don't know. Either way, it's a money play by the Bills. In crunch time, 3rd and long, red zone, that was pretty much the play of the game. So look at it from the end zone angle, kind of see what happens from this end zone angle. Look at Hayden on the left side of the screen. He's motioning something to Barron. So there's some kind of communication happening there. I don't know if that's a push call for them. I mean, usually the Bills will show like a box or a triangle with their hands as their call for a push call between. Again, it's usually between these two defenders right here to be accountable for those two players right there. So it's a zone coverage, but ends up being like a pattern matching coverage to the coverage so that the offense can't get leverage, to the boundary side of the field there. So just great work. Josh was so disciplined on this play. Again, too high look. His two high safety beaters to this side of the field. But where do his eyes go? He's looking to the left. So he's totally in rhythm here. And he's just scanning the field. He's just doing that to hold the safeties. But he knows when he gets to the top of his drop that he needs to have his eyes to the boundary side of the field and steps up just a little bit because Watt is screaming off the edge here. Cody Ford is vertical setting here, trying to shut off that line. But really nice extension and chop right there. Look at the manipulation of his stride by TJ Watt. Just extends off that right foot. Little cross chop. Josh is calm, just slides up in the pocket, and then boom, hits Croft for the touchdown. Very much a play of the game there, guys. I appreciate everyone tuning in. We're about 2 hours deep right now. You guys are super committed. I know you guys are as excited as I am for this game tonight, so I wanted to take a look at some of these plays. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to comment. Make sure to share. Get to Cover One. Get to all our podcasts. We're everywhere, guys. I appreciate you tuning into this breakdown of last year's Bills offense versus the Steelers. So another 21 personnel set, and the Bills are going back to the run game, right? They're running some of that power. I'd be interested to see if the Bills run that again today. Kevin Cook says, love how the Bills run plays that look same but are different. Again, that's something that coordinators like to do. They like to build plays on top of each other. We saw it last week on some of those plays that we had talked about with Ayuk and Samuel versus Levi Wallace. A lot of those routes looked very similar. A lot of those routes attacked the same coverage in cover 3. A lot of those routes attacked the man coverage that they were looking for. This play is just a play where Josh looks to extend it. Let's see what the down and distance was. 3rd and long here, 6:34 and running on the clock. Bills up 17-10. So we're getting into the end of the game here, and Steelers showing 2 high safety looks here. And Bills, I want to say this was their, okay, just a little 2 high safety bidder. So you're getting like an out route here and that short in breaking route here, kind of like we saw earlier in the game between Brown and Beasley, but it's shut off by this defender. It does a hell of a job of squeezing that play. Good job of getting out underneath, passing the seam route on, and then getting out to Brown here. So he shuts it down, and Josh does go through his progression, but it's only really a 2-man route because the Bills are in 12 personnel and have 2 tight ends to account for TJ Watt here to the top of the screen. So Josh eats the play on 3rd and long and isn't able to quite pick it up on this play. So look at it from the end zone. Again, 12 personnel, something they did a lot in this game, something the Bills are going to do with TJ Watt and give some help to the offensive line. You know, they're going to lock in and isolate versus TJ Watt out here so that the offensive line and even the running back at times can account for everyone else in the protection. But again, if the routes are shut down, this is going to be the key to enough. The routes are shut down. If Watt is picked up, what can Josh do outside of structure? With the 2-man route here, it was smart of him to just pull it down and run the ball here because it also kept the clock running. And obviously the Bills were going to punt there. So we're under 2 minutes now, 17-10. Bills are 1st and 10 here, 22 personnel. So now they're just looking to run the clock out. And how well do the Bills do that here? A really nice run on 1st down, right, guys? 22 personnel. Looks like they run, you know, one of the main concepts that the Bills ran here, another power concept. TJ Watt playing that joker role. He aligns over the tackle, but then comes right into that A gap. He knows that the Bills are looking to attack to the strength of the formation. But Gore does a great job of not bouncing it this time, right? So you get the down block here, especially on Watt. Another down block by center. Knox climbs to that 2nd level and helps kind of seal off a nice little alley. Here comes the puller on Devin Bush. But it's a mess here. There's not much here. So with the backside defender, the backside safety Edmonds folding in here, Gore attacks him. He just hugs this block right here, right up the hip, and just gets north and south. Doesn't bounce it like he did in that 3rd quarter. 2nd and 6 situation, 1:49 on the clock. Same personnel, pretty much the same run look. So we're getting to the end of the game here, just trying to run the clock out, forcing the defense to burn their timeout. So we're going to burn through some of this film. Not much to really talk about. Just Gore getting north and south here. 3rd and 4 situation. Again, now they're probably just going to run duo, 13 personnel on this play here. Looks like Josh, you know, kind of runs the clock down a little bit, tries running duo, but the Steelers were ready on this play as the Bills try to run the clock out here on duo. So now everyone's clearing out, and the Bills get the 17-10 situation. Obviously, I think Duck Hodges ended some of their drives here late in the 4th quarter with some interceptions, some timely interceptions by, I think it was Levi Wallace got one in this game. Jordan Poyer, I believe, is another guy that got one in this game. So definitely a good game for the Bills last year. Bills offense, again, a lot of 21 personnel guys, a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of keeping running backs and tight ends in when they did want to take those shots down the field. And it's a game plan that I hope to not see this year, because the Bills are a different offense. They have a lot of different personnel guys, as a lot of you have been saying in the chat room. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in, man. 121 right now, still tuned in 2 hours into a game breakdown. You know, an hour before the 1 o'clock games, man. I truly appreciate you guys jumping in with us. So as I talked about from the personnel side of things this week, Bills aren't going to run a lot of 21 personnel. The Bills don't really have a true fullback. They use Gilliam in that role. So if they have Gilliam in the game, if they have Lee Smith activated, Knox activated. What are they doing with Tyler Kroft? Kroft had a great game against these guys last year, and a guy that's familiar with the Steelers defense because he was in that division for many years on the Bengals. So he's a guy where when they're running that nub tight ends that you saw in that touchdown, if those are option routes, and he's got to read that defense, he has a pretty good understanding, even though he's been, kind of sat the last couple games. So that's something to keep an eye on, whether he's activated. Do they bring 4 tight ends today? There's a lot of things from a personnel standpoint that needs to be answered a couple hours prior to the game. So keep an eye out for that. And with that said, keep an eye out for the post-game show. Cover One Buffalo with Greg and Aaron. Obviously, they love staying up late, especially Aaron loves staying up late to break down the game with Greg. So keep an eye out for that. The Hoof podcast is another Bills podcast. Anthony, Erik, Sterling do a great job, and they're lively characters that love to dive into the game. They're entertaining. They will bring it from a fan's perspective. They'll bring it from an X's and O's perspective. They have some fun with some live shows early in the week, and then their podcast in audio form late in the week. And then, of course, Anthony Prohaska is another guy that does some podcast stuff with us and disguise coverage. He is a great guy when it comes to the X's and O's, when it comes to that in-depth look and entertainment as well. So keep an eye out for all of our content on the YouTube channel each day, each week for the Bills. Russ and Christian are guys that do the draft portion of our stuff for Cover One. They are the draft side of the house. They do a lot of podcasts and breakdowns on college and draft prospects. That stuff's starting to ramp up now, guys. So make sure to get their podcasts and subscribe to their stuff wherever you get your podcast, because it's that time of year. Even though the Bills are going to be in the playoffs and playing hopefully deep into the playoffs, there are other areas that we cover as a brand, and that's done a great job with Nathan, Russ, Christian, all the guys on the draft side of the house. They will have your evaluation stuff covered as we roll into draft season for some teams, not the Bills at this point, but some teams are already in draft mode, and they are the guys to follow on social media and their podcast. So let's wrap this up with any questions. So if you have any other questions, guys, as we wind down here, shoot them now in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to take off and get the last hour of pregame in for the 1 o'clock games. I'm going to go take a look at some of that stuff and those games and just enjoy the day. And then as the day progresses, obviously the nerves are going to change here. And as the game approaches, a lot of eyes on the Bills guys this week. I know, obviously they performed really well in prime time last week and Monday night, but this is a better defense the Bills offense is playing. So Cody Finney asked, does Matt Milano get more snaps this week? It's a great question, man. I expect Matt Milano to play more just because I expect the Steelers are one of the top 5 teams in empty sets. It's something I always talk about. The Steelers are a team that likes to spread teams out and go to empty set formations. And they'll do that from different personnel groupings and whatnot. But I want you guys to take a look at, I'm going to bring it up on the screen because it's something that you're going to see a lot of. It's something we talk about a lot, is the passing game, the short passing game as an extension of the run game, as really the structure for the Steelers offense as a whole, and the where Ben is as a passer right now. So 138 dropbacks from Ben Roethlisberger are from empty sets. So 138, it leads the league. 134 pass attempts, 100 completions, 871 yards, which is the third most. And if you look at, the yardage gain, 871, and then the air yards are on 379 yards, guys. So they like to go to empty, but they like to use that underneath stuff, those underneath passes to really set the tone for their passing game. But if you look, he's got 12 touchdowns out of that formation, which leads the league. 2 interceptions, only 3 sacks. So he's a player at this stage of his career, guys, that plays from the shoulders up, right? His physical, skill set is not what it used to be. So they like to get in these empty sets and really, throw it underneath from what the way it looks right here. But now let's change the air yard selector We go and see how many times when they're an empty set, do they like to really attack down the field. So we're going to do 19 air yards or more, courtesy of Sports Info Solutions. And so where do his dropbacks go to then? He only has 9 dropbacks and 5 completions of 19 yards or more when they're an empty set, and only 3 of those 12 passes out of empty are touchdowns. So 3 out of 12 are touchdowns. So a lot of times, it's not you don't really have to worry about him pushing the ball down the field all that often. Again, 138 dropbacks, only 9 of them are passes that were pushed down the field. 9 attempts were pushed down the field out of 138. So it's a lot of underneath stuff, and a lot of those. If you look at the yards gained on those 19 plus yards, it was really right at that threshold, right? 121 air yards out of 148. So do I see Matt Milano playing a lot more reps? I do. I think the Steelers, according to the way they've played this year, I think we will see Matt Milano playing a little more because of how I think the Steelers are going to try to spread the Bills out in a similar fashion that I think the Bills should attack. These two teams, these two offenses are so similar in my opinion. Cody asked, do we continue to move towards a base 4-3? No. I think that's because it's a passing league, guys. And while Klein has played pretty well, if Matt Milano's healthy, he's going to replace Klein in the lineup in nickel situations. The Bills are a nickel team, guys. And it's a passing league. The only time the Bills play 4-3 are when the opposing offense goes to certain personnel groupings. Generally, having studied this, having talked about this for years now, have talked about this, Lorenzo Alexander, and other defenders on that defense, it's all about personnel usage. So if the team that is playing the Bills defense wants to go to more 21 personnel, 22 personnel, they will be in base defense. They'll be in 3 linebacker sets, 4 down linemen, base defense, and they will play that. So then maybe you will see Klein, Edmonds, and Milano in some variation. The outside linebackers, they're interchangeable. So you could see that. Now, when opposing offenses go to 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, I don't see them staying in base. In fact, they've actually changed the last few weeks, the last month or so, the last 5 games. Usually when teams go 12 personnel, you're going to see big nickel, Buffalo nickel, 3 safety look, Dean Marlowe, Saran Neal every once in a while. Typically, it's been Dean Marlowe as the Buffalo nickel. Well, the Bills have changed the last couple weeks. When teams have gone to 12 personnel, they said, you know what? No, we're going to stay in nickel. We're going to keep Taron Johnson out there because he is a good run defender and he is a quick trigger guy. He can help defend a run if teams want to run out of 12 personnel. But he also obviously can, cover better than Dean Marlowe. And a lot of people are down on Taron Johnson, but he does, and he has played better the last month or so in pass coverage. But he's a guy that's a little more versatile than a lot of Bills fans want to admit to. And, when teams want to go to 12 personnel and run the ball, he's a guy that's going to fill and fire his gun, as I always say when I refer to Taron Johnson's run defense. So long-winded answer, but do I think the Bills stay in a base 4-3? I think they still stay in nickel, Cody. And maybe even more so than we have seen in years past. Because as I said, Taron Johnson's been on the field even when they are trying to match personnel. I think it's something I talked about on Twitter this week. Last year, on the offensive side of the ball, we saw an improvement with the offense in an efficiency standpoint in Josh Allen's play when Dable went to the booth. They used more up-tempo, and they minimized the personnel substitutions. When they minimized how many different guys were coming in and out. I think that's something Leslie Frazier picked up on the last month or so, and it's kind of taken that page out of Brian Dable's playbook last year, is minimizing matching up personnel-wise, because when you have the type of offseason that the Bills and the NFL had to deal with on the defensive side of the ball and how the defense was struggling and some of the things they were doing of trying to match, I think if you whittle away and shave back some of that substitution, I think you'll increase efficiency because of the communication of guys that are on the field and being used to being, the base defense for the Bills, which is nickel defense. So I don't think we'll see too much of 3 linebacker sets unless the opposing offense goes to 21 and 22 personnel. I'm sorry, guys, asking for predictions. I'm not really a prediction guy, so I don't really have an idea how many receptions and yards Diggs will have. I do think they're going to force the ball to him because, as I talked about during the breakdown, the Steelers like to give up DVOA wise a lot of plays to number one wide receivers. They're ranked 23rd in DVOA against alpha wide receiver ones of the opposing offense. So I do think Diggs will be given the ball, hopefully in the short passing game and down the field as the game progresses. Does Pittsburgh play more conservative now that we have Diggs compared to their normal heavy pressure? A question from Hunter Smith. I think there's a way, there is an avenue where they can play conservative. They can play their zone defense, but still confuse Josh Allen and create pressure with their simulated and creeper pressures. Guys, simulated creeper pressures, simply put, are a way for the defense to still play coverage, still have 7 on the back end defending the pass, but attacking the offensive line's pass blocking concepts by showing 6 or 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, but not knowing the offensive line, not knowing what way they're going to attack that protection. So I think there's a way to still be aggressive, but still conservative on the back end in limiting the Bills' explosive passing game. Now, when the Niners went to that last week and played that game, Josh Allen saw those pressures, or not pressures, those type of looks pretty easily because the Niners didn't disguise it at all. I mean, I only remember 2 or 3 plays where they changed the picture for Josh Allen from pre to post snap. And, Josh did have his struggles in those plays, but this Steelers defense is a completely different animal. They have, a lot of defensive backs, and they have safeties that can spin in a blink of an eye, and that can confuse Josh Allen. So they may only be sending 4 guys and not using a lot of those, hug rushes, which we talked about, where the tight end stays in the block, that linebacker or safety inserts as a rusher. A lot of those green dog blitzes where, like last week, I saw Spillane, the backup linebacker that was filling in when that tight end or when that running back stayed in the block, they inserted him as a rusher. I don't think they're going to do that as often, so I don't think they will do that as often as they have in the last few games, because again, the Bills can just torch them over the top and get those explosive plays. So I think to answer your question, I think they will play it more conservative on the back end, but it's still going to create issues for Josh, just where he is in his career and how those safeties spin and those slot defenders, those extra safeties they bring in. I mean, 7 defensive backs is going to give Josh issues. It's something that we saw the Ravens kind of do it to the Bills last year and just created so many issues for Josh Allen. All right, let's see if there's any more questions. I think that's pretty much going to do it for how much will their linebackers benefit us. I think that's an area the Bills should attack, and I talked about that. That's even when they had healthy players, the linebackers were susceptible and vulnerable to short passes to running backs, and the Washington football team did that last week to McKissick quite often, and a lot of times out of empty sets. So I don't know who's going to start Cody at cornerback too, and you know what? I don't care because I trust in the process. I trust this staff and the guys on the defensive side of the ball to put the right cornerback 2 in there, and it doesn't matter who's in there, guys. Whether it's Norman, Wallace, Dane Jackson, I mean, anyone they put over there, they're going to see targets. And I showed that during the week in some some advanced stats from Pro Football Focus is no matter who was in there outside at corner, all 3 of those guys were targeted right around 6.5% of the snaps. So every 6.5, 6.5, 6.6 snaps, they were targeted according to Pro Football Focus. So they're in the same ballpark. It's just whoever's opposite of Trey White, they're going to get targeted. And I think I think Wallace's struggles last week were more so not him in man-to-man coverage getting beat one-on-one. I think it was more so him playing cover 3. They had him in off coverage versus condensed sets, which is how they align them, 7 to 9, 7 and 10 yards off the field. and they were just running those short outbreaking routes or short slant routes like we've seen from week 1. And you guys remember, flashback to that Dolphins game with Fitzy and Parker, Preston Williams, and those tight sets to the line of scrimmage. They're tight in that nasty alignment and just running those slant routes. Even Gesicki had some of those routes. That's the opposing offense attacking the leverage of the coverage, not necessarily the player. You can't really put that all on the player. That's more of a scheme or a coverage alignment issue there, in my opinion. Now, some of the balls down the field where he was in man coverage, where he kind of bit on the double move and gave it up to Ayuk to the top of the screen, where Ayuk had some amazing tracking and body control. He came all the way back and caught it. That one was more on Wallace because he bit on that inside, stem, and then obviously Ayuk kind of took it to the outside. But right at the catch point, he wasn't totally out of phase, and that's where his athleticism, his limited athleticism, kind of tops him off as far as his ceiling goes. And I think he is who he is, but he's a smart player. He's a guy that's improved as a run defender, as a tackler. He's only got 2 or 3 missed tackles this year, whereas last year he had like 12 or 14, something ridiculous. So he's improved in areas that he's really not getting credit for. But whoever's opposite, Trey White's going to get attacked. And playing at the catch point, being in phase, and being smart, being in position is really what's going to come down to whether that's Levi Wallace, Dane Jackson, or Josh Norman. Do you think weather will play a part in the passing game? It depends. Wind, yes. From a wind standpoint, I think wind will play to the Bills, in the Bills' hands, because, again, we talked about Roethlisberger, where he is in his career, his arm strength, surgery, and all that good stuff. They're going to want to attack short anyway. So I think that'll limit them. So the Bills can get them in 3rd and long, and they're trying to push the ball down the field, depending on the way the wind's blowing. That's going to come into a factor. It's going to become a factor. That's going to be a strategy that teams that come to Buffalo and play in that stadium always have to deal with. Wind versus our precip. When we're talking about that, snow versus rain. Rain is worse. Snow, especially if it's dry snow, where it's not that lake effect, wet stuff coming off the lake there, that's not that bad. But if you have a wet ball and wind, I think that does play a factor. I think even with Allen's arm strength, it's going to be a factor when we talk about ball control and we talk about, ball security. Something, obviously, Josh Allen, Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, all have little marks in the negatives when you're coming from a coaching standpoint or a scouting report on those guys. Hey, there are some fumbles. Zach Moss has actually been really good career-wise in college and in the pros as when it comes to ball security. So I'm not too worried about that and him in that case. And I think he's learned his lesson after what McDermott did to him and pretty much benching him, and then even telling the media that at post game during the week. So, but Singletary, obviously, we saw it in the breakdown. He has ball security issues, in my opinion, still. And Josh Allen, there's no doubt about it, he does. Elijah, dude, appreciate it, man. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate the contributions there to support our channel. Appreciate the love that you're showing us here in Cover One. Dan Reeves, how often do us fans see Pittsburgh linebackers bounce off running QBs? This week, we might see it a few. Hey, I'm all for Josh scrambling and playing outside of structure. I don't want to see too many designed runs. I want to see them test it. Again, show that zone read. See if they have that assignment covered. Because, again, they have so many guys, especially at that second level, that linebacker level, test their assignment integrity. Test this, make sure that the edge player, Watt, is crashing on that running back when the ball is in the belly on that zone read. And when Josh pulls it, is that linebacker playing over the top on that scrape exchange? Test those guys. Those guys, that are, filling in for some of the starters there. That's something that I'm glad you pointed out, Dan. That's something we saw. The Bills, they did it, 2 or 3 times in that matchup last year. So I have zero qualms with the Bills testing it. But I think it comes down to, in this game, and I'm going to wrap it up with this, guys. I said it early in the week when I started watching film on the Steelers. I said it, top of this breakdown. It's going to come down to Josh Allen's processing and ability to play outside of structure. I don't care who's on the defensive side of the ball. The scheme is solid. There is a top defense for a reason, even with all the changes that they're going to undergo personnel-wise. Their scheme is going to confuse Josh Allen. Josh Allen's not going to get the ball out in 2.7 or so like he did last week against the Niners. They did not try to confuse him pre to post snap. The Steelers will. They're going to confuse him. They're going to spin some coverages. They're going to rotate a lot of their safeties. They're going to confuse Josh Allen. Will Josh Allen take the underneath stuff? Week to week, that's really come and gone. Last week, he took it. He took it to the tight ends. He took it to the running backs. Is he going to take it to the tight ends and running backs this week, especially against some of those linebackers underneath, some of those slot defenders? Either way, if he doesn't, and when they get into those third mediums and third and longs, and when the Steelers send these crazy coverages where you have safeties dropping from 7 yards deep in the middle of the field all the way back to 20 yards, they start spinning those guys and confusing Josh pre to post snap on their safety rotations, because a lot of quarterbacks' eyes and this offense really starts with those safeties and those rotations pre to post snap. Can Josh process it in time? And when he doesn't, because he's going to be confused, he's going to hold on to the ball. He's going to start looking to one side of the field where his safety, that coverage beater is, and realize, oh no, they spun. I need to get to the other side. If he doesn't have time because TJ Watt is bearing down on him, or he has pressure up the middle with the Haywards of the world pushing, Feliciano, Morse, and Bakker, if he starts there up the middle, and he's got to escape and extend the play, how is Josh going to play outside of structure, outside of the pocket? That's going to be the key to this game, guys. He made a hell of a lot of plays last week against the Niners down the field. Got a lot of explosive plays that Josh didn't get last year against the Steelers. As we talked about at the top, he had under 200 yards passing in that game. I think it was 139, only one touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown, but outside of structure, outside of the pocket, off script, that's where this game is going to really live, in my opinion, and really be determined from an offensive standpoint for the Bills. So with that said, guys, again, thanks for everyone for tuning in. We still got almost 100 viewers right now, 2.5 hours in, 40 minutes prior to the 1 o'clock games. If you guys love this stuff, this is something I can start to do prior to the 1 o'clock games every week. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. With that said, I am Erik Turner. Make sure to tune in to all of our content. Our Josh Allen film room breakdown will, of course, be coming here in a few days with Nate Geary from WGR and myself. So I am Erik Turner. I am signing off. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Get to cover1.net. See you guys later.